I'd like to call the meeting of November 14th of the Townsend Water Commissioners to order at 7 p.m. On July 16th, 2022, Governor Baker signed into law an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, which, among other things, extends the expiration of the provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2023. Specifically, this extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at the meeting location, and to provide adequate alternate access to remote meetings. The act does not make any new changes to the open meeting law other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding remote meetings from July 15th, 2022 to March 31st, 2023. Roll call, this meeting is being recorded. Roll call of commissioners. Todd Melanson, chair, present.
Nathan Medela, vice chair, present.
Dave and Chaz, would you please announce yourselves, please?
Dave Bijan, superintendent, present.
Chaz Sexton Duranian, liaison to the Board of Selectmen.
Let's see.
Start video.
Roll call as citizens. We'll do that as they speak, Nate.
Yes. Let's. I just want to remind we're going to have one person talking at a time. You'll be recognized through the chairman of the board, which is Todd Melanson. Please announce who you are and where you're from.
Thank you. I don't have any. I don't have any deletions. One addition I would like to add, since this meeting happens directly after Veterans Day weekend, I would like to take the moment to recognize the veterans of this country. We owe them a lot, and missed out on the Veterans Day celebration. So I just wanted to take this moment and just recognize their service. And that would be it. Review correspondence and public comment. We'll take public comment. We will limit each individual's public comment to 5 minutes a person. And a lot of things on the agenda, and just want to be expeditious with our time.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Our first appointment is at 7:10. Perhaps if we. If everybody takes 5 minutes, I don't.
Yeah, you're right there. All right. We have a few minutes. Well, do you want to? How about this one? Why don't we move 1.5, which is the review correspondence and public comments, to after 2.7. If there's anyone left that wants to speak after 2.7, we give them the time to do so therein. Does that make?
It's a great idea.
All right. So, why don't we do that? I think most of the public comment will probably, the correspondence is up in the appointments. So I think most of that should get covered then, and then we can give time to anyone else who wants to speak at that point. So that being said, it's 7:04. Why don't we start? 2.1 is Joanne Bouchamp, 15 Hickory Drive, present.
Hi there.
Good evening, Joanne. Do you, Mrs. Beauchamp or Joanne?
Joanne is.
Good enough. So we have your information. I understand you're looking for an adjustment in your bill, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
There I am. Hi there.
Hi. Was there a leak identified in the home?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. We had a hissing in our toilet back in August. But when they came out, they did not identify it. But my husband had worked on the toilet and adjusted it or fixed it. But we also had some other things going on that I talked to Brenda about. where we put in a reverse osmosis system. And we did that back in August. And what happened was, I don't know if this has anything to do with the expense of the bill, but Brenda said to bring it up. We went through, we put the system in, it was $300 because of health issues. And we went through 2 sets of 3 filters in just a course of a couple of weeks. They were doing a lot of flushing on our street at that time, and the filters were filled with heavy, heavy sand. I don't know if that would have caused the problem, but in the course of this quarter, our bill was $750. The system was $300. The filters were $120. Then we added another filter, and the total was $1,210.
What was the other filter they added? If you don't
Well,
mind.
Three filters.
we put, so after we had the sand in the second time, I think I talked to Dave and he said, put a pre-filter in. So we went and we got a pre-filter, and we have that one before the osmosis system now.
What did they put in for a pre-filter? Because usually if it's just a sediment filter, it's usually like a 1 to 5 micron cloth wound system with a clear housing. And did you say that second filter was $1,200?
No, that's the
Oh,
total
okay.
cost of
Okay,
everything
okay.
with the bill. The osmosis system was about $300. And then
Okay.
the filters, when you buy 3 of them, are around $60 or $70. But
The osmosis ones or the sediment?
the osmosis.
Okay.
Now, it was unusual. The filters were supposed to last a year, and we went through 2 sets, but there was a lot of flushing on our street. The street that we live on, there was unusual amount of flushing, and the water has been brown. So I don't know if that has anything to do, but that was the other unusual thing that happened. I've been here since Timberley Park was built, and my bills I can go all the way back. My bills have been anywhere from $80 to $200, and this has never happened. And I'm concerned as a senior citizen with the unusual bill. And anyway, I'm appealing for an adjustment.
So the leak identifies a lot of the usage. Keep in mind, keeping track. Reverse osmosis system, for every 1 gallon it produces, it usually wastes about 10. So your usage,
10?
Yes.
Wow.
So just keep that in mind. And that's a rule of thumb. Some of them are different, but it's going to be anywhere from 8 to 10 gallons.
I thought it was
'cause-
4.
Most of them that I've seen are 8 to 10. If you can find the 4, then just keep that in mind that it is going to use. The other thing I will say is, the sediment filter you can kind of let go occasionally and stuff like that. But a user thing that you should know of is when that reverse osmosis filter is done, not so much clogged by sand, but when it's run its length or its time, remain diligent about changing it. They have a habit of, once they get saturated, of giving concentrated amounts off of whatever it's been taking out. Okay. So just remain diligent. It's a lot of people don't know that about filters. So just wanted to bring that up.
So it
The
doesn't make it safer then?
Well,
at
it
that-
does. It does. So long as you I just have experience with people. They get used to filters. They get complacent. Just
Mhm.
don't do that and you'll be fine.
No, we even put a shut-off valve in front of that other filter now, so.
It should be before and after so you can release and unscrew it. Well, we've started a policy that if there's an identified leak, we will adjust the bill down to the first tier. You have from recorded by the staff and stuff that there was a leak. I have no problem adjusting your bill down to everything to the first tier. That will give you some measure of relief. Nate?
Yes.
It-
One thing. You said we've started a policy. I don't believe that's the case. We're taking and making decisions on a case-by-case basis, just as any board would.
wrong word, and I appreciate that. We did set the precedent, I guess, of doing that. So he's right in that we do not have a formal policy on it as of yet. So I would like to make a motion to, unless Nate, do you have anything you want to add beyond that?
So I'm showing correspondence with a balance of 304.60. So that's a high bill for you because you said it went range from 80 to 200. Joanne?
No, my bill was $750.
Okay, I have incorrect information in front of me.
And
I have-
what I did is, so that I didn't get an interest bill, I had spoken to Brenda and, I paid the tier 1 price so that at least I paid that, which was I don't know exactly, $455. So that might be the 300 that you're seeing, Nate.
So
I'm not sure.
The balance is 304.60,
Yeah.
and that's what we would be releasing. She was charged $755.32 and has a credit. The credit is what she paid, which was $454.
Mhm.
So we're gonna go ahead and say that the majority of this was due to a leaky toilet.
I would say so. If it was hissing, that's a decent amount.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
talking up to like 300 gallons a day you can lose through a toilet.
That's crazy, huh?
It's
So
interesting to hear what you had said about the reverse osmosis. So that's definitely something to watch out for, Joanne. If that is the case, you might be going through a bit more water than you expect.
Tell me again, Nate, I'm sorry.
Oh, I said I was interested to learn what Todd had said about the reverse osmosis using close to, what was it? Was it like almost like a 4-to-1 ratio?
Yeah, 4-to-1 or more. Or almost. It's most of them I've seen are 8 to 10 gallons for every 1 gallon produced. If she's got one, but keep in mind too, is this a whole house or is it on your kitchen tap?
It's only on the kitchen tap. And,
Okay.
it's for drinking and cooking only.
Yep.
So we're also being careful with that too. But I guess I thought we read that it was 4 gallons on the system we got, but we'll check that again, Todd, because 10 gallons is a lot too.
No, but it's going to be limited to what you're consuming, not what you're, showering with and other things like that. So but just keep that kind of math in your head. Even 1 to 4 is going to increase your usage. So, but like I said, that'll have a minimum effect. One good thing too is if you have more than one bathroom, especially with an older home, checking a toilet with food coloring is a great habit to get into, to be quite honest with you, every once in a while.
I know Dave had told me to do that too, to put it in the tank occasionally and just wait.
Yeah, the longer you let it wait, the better off the chance you're going to see if you get a leak. It's a good practice to get into, especially if you have more than one. If you only got one, then maybe not so much. If you go away for a weekend, good test or whatever. But it's a good way to conserve water.
We're
Nate,
going to do that now.
Nate, do you want me to make the motion?
Sure. Dave, real quick.
Dave?
I saw your box light up. Did you have something to say?
I was going to say that a full running toilet will use 180 gallons per hour.
Oh my gosh.
So if you ever hear your toilet running again, please don't wait.
The other
Dave-
thing too is a lot of the leaks you won't hear, and that's why the food colorings are good. I mean, he's right. If that flap gets stuck open, it has the ability to use a heck of a lot of water. Go ahead, Nate.
Is this case where you had a leak? There was no need to call the water department over, but did you have anybody from the water department over or have Dave over?
I didn't have anybody, but they did come and change the meter recently because of the problem. Because I didn't know. We thought maybe we should do that. I talked to everyone and at the department, and they said, let's just put a new meter on and check, because the bill was so highly unusual. After living here for 45 years, I've never seen anything like it.
And her usage was a lot different than in previous years, Nate. So
Right.
I mean, she normally uses I know her highest usage before this was only like 23,000. So it doubled her usage. And if
It
it was,
actually tripled it, Todd. It
Mr.
was,
Chairman,
you
we're
are
already
right.
seeing this.
there was a supplemental that came out this afternoon that had the actual historical use, the volume usage in the past. And she is right. My math is wrong. Sorry, I'm a little tired.
no, that's okay. They looked it over in the office, Brenda and Missy. They both looked, they said it was not, it was not what it's been in. They were concerned
Historically.
about it too.
So I would make a motion that we adjust the water bill of 50 Hickory Drive to the tier 1, and due to the leak. Nate?
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's not decided yet.
Okay.
I would, if that motion were made, I would second that. I just, the wording of that, I just
All
didn't know
right.
if that was
Let's
your
see.
motion.
All right. I make a motion that we adjust 15 Hickory Drive, the water usage bill, to, how am I going to put this? I'm sorry. My brain is not working as well as it should tonight. And I apologize. Nate, you want to put it into
Sure,
words
sure.
for me? Thank you.
Yeah, let me try. Let me give it a whack. So just so we're all on the same page, we're taking the outstanding balance and basically, so
Yeah.
she's paid
The
previous
tier 1.
balance. So the current balance is going to be paid to tier 1.
No, it was paid to tier 1.
Okay. So the current balance is what's left over after the tier 1.
Correct.
All right. So, I move that should we just put this through as a refund or
No.
abatement? What's the term here? We're adjusting the account.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah, yeah.
just how's this? I make a motion, we adjust the water bill as paid to the tier 1 amount and forgiving the balance due. Does that sound right?
Wouldn't we just forgive the balance due?
Yeah, but I'd like to I want it noted that we dropped it to the tier 1, just so for the record, so that there's a reason why this was done. Do you know what I mean, Nate?
It was really already done though. So,
Yeah.
Dropping into the tier 1 covers it.
right. For that billing cycle. Okay.
Yes.
Well,
I move that we adjust the previous billing cycle for account number 4520 to tier 1, and the remaining balance be dropped. Abated.
Drops fine. Yeah, drops fine. Second, motion's been made in second. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
All right. Joanne, you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your understanding.
No, it's so long as we can identify a leak and stuff like that, it's what we're trying to do. It's the fair thing to do. It is a one and done, so keep that in mind, and
I'm gonna
just
keep checking the toilets. Is there a way to tell if, well, anyway. I'll call
Well, you have a new
David
meter,
about the
right?
Osmosis. I want to know if there's any way of measuring that, but anyway.
one thing to do is the new meter has an app that you can monitor your usage. Dave, does she have that set up?
you have to ask her. We give out the ion water. If she doesn't have one, we'll send it out to her.
Okay, great. Yeah, we have the new meter, but we don't have it's not been set up yet. So Brenda told me to call her back about that. I'll do that.
All right,
All right.
that's a great way. It's a great device to monitor your usage, and a lot of people have spoken very highly of it, that the ones that are using it. So I would recommend you do that. Joanne, I thank you for your time.
Thank
All right. You have a good evening.
You too now. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Next up is 2.2, Michael Wilmot, 21 Horseshoe Drive, the same topic, bill adjustment. Mr. Wilmot, are you there?
Hi, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir. Michael or Mr. Wilmot?
Michael or Mike, whatever. Doesn't matter. You can call me
Works.
anything you want.
So I guess the same question applies for this. Was there a leak identified at the property?
Yeah, so my wife and I had, we talked to Brenda, and they you folks sent out a couple guys to, they put the new interface on, the new meter, as well as check for a leak. And we have an irrigation system for the back, and they did confirm a leak. So, and I confirmed that with Brenda and Misty. They also did put the new smart meter on as well.
Have you activated the app yet?
Yes, my wife did. Yeah. So that's all
Okay.
set.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna look through. So have you gotten the leak fixed?
Not yet. It's our irrigation system. So what I did was I had them come out, our irrigation folks, after you folks came out, and so I just shut off the main valve, so it's not leaking. And before I turn it on for the spring, when they come out, they're gonna address the leak.
Did you get it blown out at least?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I know.
Just don't want
And
you to
he
freeze
thinks
it.
it was there for a while, so it's
Yeah.
in a way, this has been a blessing in disguise, because we were just kind of going along to get along with a reasonably high water bill anyway. But now I'm glad at least we know we have the leak. So
Okay.
it was pretty significant, I guess.
Yeah, it looks it. Well, in that being the case, now I need to see. Hold on, look. Sorry, switching pages here on my laptop. So this is. So did you do the same by paying the first tier and then?
Yes.
Okay.
We did.
Okay.
I went down and paid in the office there.
Okay.
So we paid based on tier 1, and then she said, talk to you guys and see what you had to say, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Same thing with the leak and stuff. One thing, again, this is kind of a one and done. You kind of have to recognize especially with an installed irrigation system, your responsibility is to be looking for areas that are soft or overly wet. And it's kind of the inherent risk you take by having one of these, because the lines are plastic and they do break. So just be advised of that. Okay.
Absolutely. I think it'll be nice to have the smart system, right? We'll be able to track, and we'll know which tier we're on, and if we're headed to any more disasters in terms of high water bills, we'll know now.
And- and
Dave, does it tell you if it thinks it's got a leak?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it does. Wow.
So these new meters, a lot of utilities are going to them. It's helping residents actually save money, because what it does is it builds up an algorithm, and it determines what your baseline usage is. So if all of a sudden, instead of waiting till 3 months later to find out if you got one, it can tell you a lot. Some of the ones you actually have to go down and look at the meter, and on it, it'll show a dripping faucet. With this app, this should be able to tell you when you have one. So this will help you react a little bit quicker. It's one of the advantages of what we looked at, what the staff found in different meters and stuff like that, and partially why they chose this one. So where we have an identified leak, and where we have abated other water usages, I make a motion for account number 60218. Is that right? For 21 Horseshoe Drive to abate all usage to the first tier and drop the remaining balance. Oh, I should ask Nate if he had anything to say. I apologize, Nate. Again, I'm gonna thank you.
Back for that billing cycle.
Yes, sir. Just for that billing cycle. So
Okay,
that would be,
might want to amend that.
yeah, you are correct. I will apologize. My head is a little fuzzy. I'm just getting over COVID, so I'm not my usual self. I make a motion that we abate account number 60218 for the previous billing cycle for the water usage down to the tier 1 and to drop the remaining balance.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Vote. Todd Melanson, chair. Aye.
Nathan Matala, aye.
Motion's been made and passed. Mike, just keep that, watch that,
Yeah,
the app and you should be good to go. Appreciate your time. And
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do. So we'll have to really, it'll be interesting to see without that leak. We're going to have to really stay on top of that. So I appreciate the opportunity.
no, the other thing too is if you're going to continue to irrigate your lawn, one thing I might suggest you do is EPA has something called EPA Water Sense, and they have a lot of recommendations on what a lawn should need for irrigation, and it might help you a little bit. To be honest with you, the less you water it, the deeper the roots grow and the more resilient the lawn becomes. Same with fertilizer and stuff like that. It'll help you in the long run. The root growth actually acts as a sponge and holds on to that water in the ground. Also, just, it's probably too late now, but I would look and see how much actual loam you have on your lawn. At some point, you may want to add more, because to have a fully functioning resilient lawn, they say it's 4 to 6 inches of compacted loam. Most of us don't have that. Most of us have the maybe 2 to 3 inches and stuff. So just keep that in
Especially on
mind.
Horseshoe Drive.
So
We're lucky if we have an inch.
so what I would say is keep that in mind. EPA Water Sense, I will say, is a good resource. They have EPA, they certify everything from down to fixtures and appliances, but also on correct ways to irrigate or keep a lawn resilient. So I would recommend you give that a try. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Not a problem, sir.
All right.
Pleasure having you with
Have a
us.
good evening.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
2.3, Phil, I'm gonna meter 14 School Street. Philip, are you with us?
Yes, Todd, thank you. Phil
How bad did I butcher that?
It's here. It's
It's here.
hard to pronounce.
Okay.
I want to thank you for acknowledging veterans. I'm a retired Air Force colonel. Spent 19 years as a fighter pilot and instructor pilot and test pilot. My last 10 were at Hanscom, and that's where I settled in Townsend in the mid-90s and been here since. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. So my situation was a little more drastic wake-up call. My average bill for the last 2 years, the last 8 billing cycles, was $212. And I got a bill recently for $1,289 for 3 months. And so I started looking into what's going on here, and got the folks out to change my meter and to check, thinking that I had a leak. No leak showed up. So I'm not sure I have grounds for asking for a rate adjustment, other than I did have seeding done by a landscaping company and part of it myself this summer. And I probably overdid it with the seeding, trying to keep it to grow. I did it with 3 hoses and movable sprinklers. That's my irrigation system, is 1 hose to a post and then a splitter into 4 with 3 on a timer and 1 one hand watering, and I moved those around. So you'd think I had a pretty active. I quite frankly was shocked. So what I did want to do though was to talk to the Water Commission about the goals of the billing structure, and what that's all about is some research I did into your consultant. You hired a new consultant this time to do water rates. And if you want, I can wait till the public comment. Am I correct that I have no grounds for a billing adjustment?
No, sir, not without a leak. I'm sorry.
Okay. So do you want me to hold my comments till the public comment as I talk about what this rate has done?
Use your
No.
time.
You can use your time for this, sir.
All right. I'm not sure you're familiar, if you may be very familiar with environmental and social governance, ESG. It's a movement that's been going on in our society, and they've primarily been using consultants. And Teague and Bond are proponents of ESG, and I'm just wondering if some of that got in here rather than water policy. ESG, it's the definition. The Fraser Institute says ESG proponents use the regulatory state to control businesses for their own political and special interest ends. And so I'd also heard that, the DEP is recommending tiered rates and where that goes. So I just asked that question that you guys might spend some time thinking about. Was this really water policy, or was it environmental social governance? And you say, well, what was that? What was the ESG point? Well, one is, a big thing of ESG is urbanization. Supposedly urbanization is better for our environment. So ESG proponents, if they can make it more expensive and less desirable to live in the suburbs, then they can, we can cause people to go pack and move into the city. And so that is a known goal of doing that. And my question is to think about, was our Townsend water resources at risk? And is our regional water supply at risk?
Can I stop you? Because I will tell you, I do this for a living. I got elected here because I thought my knowledge would be of benefit. I can tell you ESG had no part in it. It is to promote water conservation. I will tell you regionally, New England, although we are water rich, are experiencing issues. You have, I think it's 3 of the 7 main reservoirs in this state below the 50-year average. You have issues with stream flow. There was something called SWIMI, which is the Sustainable Water Management Initiative. That was voted into the Water Management Act in 2018, I believe. And that takes into account the effect withdrawals have on stream flow and other sorts of things. There were about 2 years worth of hearings on it. So there is a direct correlation between the amount of withdrawals and the impact on stream flows and the impact that has on one thing I would suggest you do too is the state has these, when they declare a drought, have these drought state task force meetings, and go on the state website and look at, they list all the hydrogeologic factors that get taken into consideration. The biggest one right now that we're facing with the impact on withdrawals, especially in the central region, is the risk of fire, the drying out and things like that. There's 2 things you have to understand about water. We're not a normal utility like a power. We have health and safety of the people consuming the water, and equal to that is maintaining fire protection pressure. These rate studies, or these tiered rate systems, are to engender water conservation, and primarily that's it. You are right that DEP encourages these, EPA does. Most of the water associations, American Water Association, New England Water Association, and Mass Water Association also subscribe to water conservation and the measures that are applicable to it. So there is no social engineering aligned with this. I wouldn't be a party to it if it was. This was based on years of usage, the revenue stream, the historical revenue stream, and where it was going. And it is meant to engender water conservation. Water used outside of the house is legally defined as unnecessary. You need to flush a toilet, you need to cook, you need to clean, and all the sorts of things that go on inside of the house. Outside of the house to water a lawn, that is a choice. And that's kind of what it is. Nobody really understands the actual cost of water, unfortunately, or the importance of the water resource until there's a monetary attachment to it. It's historical. You can see it in almost every water utility that's gone from a block rate to a tiered rate. There are things in there that make it not forced, but it does come into when they're grading for SRF loans. If you do not have a tiered rate system, you grade lower. We are going for an SRF loan because of the water treatment plant that is needed to be built for the PFAS. The other is the Water Management Act. You have to fill out a water conservation questionnaire. In that, it asks you what rate studies you have. The Water Management Act permit determines how much water you can pull out of the ground legally. And there's a limit. It comes into an annual day average. You can lose that if you don't have the proper water conservation, if you're not following the water conservation standard. And that's another thing I would strongly suggest you look into. I'm a veteran myself. I'm going to tell you right now, ESG, whatever it is, it wouldn't be something I would be party to. And I would say that we looked at, the other thing is go back and look at the videotape of our presentation to the selectmen, if you haven't already. I've done a lot within the town, and understood the importance of trying to measure it out and make it even. And we tried to do that. So I respect your viewpoint. I respect your diligence in looking things up. But everything I know about water says the opposite.
Including, I appreciate that. And obviously you know a lot more about that than I do. And I assume then that you are convinced not only that a tiered rate structure is necessary, but this one is appropriate and not trying to punish people for watering their grass. So not trying to punish people for having good lawns. That's all. The impact was I paid more in water than I did for real estate taxes for that quarter. That's the impact. The impact is like a tax is in effect what it was like, that a tax that didn't go through the legislative branch, that wasn't debated, that a small group of people came up with these numbers and said you got to live with it. So, but I'm gonna believe that you do know, and I want to say that there's. I want to make it clear that I wasn't saying that there's any lack of good faith on your part.
No, and I understand that.
This movement has come, and like I said, they get the consultants, they get them believing in it, so they think they're really doing what's well and good, and they go through the regulatory environment and get this thing anyway. I thank you for listening, and I appreciate it, and I respect what you guys are doing, and I know you're trying to protect our water supply, and I'm all for that. So thank you.
Good enough, sir. You have a good day. Let's see. 2.4. Emmanuel Manti, 4 Bayberry Hill Road. Bill adjustment.
Yeah, hi.
Oh, you're feeding back, sir.
Okay, hold on. Let me log out of this one. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, so I joined this because we've been living here for the last 3 years, and our water bill is usually in the low hundreds. And then this, the last bill we received was $2,245. So we called and we got, you guys sent a few folks here to change the water meter, which they said the one that we had was outdated. For the 7 minutes or so that they spent here, they could not see any leak, but they advised me to pay attention to the toilets. And listening to you guys and all the recommendations that you make, I think I'm going to have to change every single toilet in my house. But when I called, they also talk about the irrigation system. But the thing is, for this year, my irrigation system have been usually turned off. Like I turn off the water supply at the basement. So even if there is a leak in the irrigation system, there wouldn't be water flowing through the pipes for.
Sir, did you have your, I live in the area in which you do, and I've driven by many times, and there's so much water coming off your lawn that it goes down the hill. And it wasn't just once, it was a lot. So to say that the irrigation system was off, I've from personal observation, I drive by your house every day, and that there was water coming down the hill and into the stormwater system, that it was being watered that much. So maybe your shutoff isn't working or what have you, but I definitely know that your system was irrigating your lawn.
He doesn't have a meter pit, does he?
Dave, does he have a meter pit?
No,
I'm sorry, what's a meter pit?
It's when the meter's outside the house and it's inside a pit.
Before the house. I was trying to think of what reasons why water might be exiting your property.
Yeah.
The meter.
Wow. Like I'm surprised that you're saying that, because for most of this year, I have not been even turning on the water supply that goes to the irrigation. So I don't know how there'll be water draining into the pit, as the other gentleman was saying. So like being stuck with 2,000.
So why don't we, there was no leak identified. What I would suggest you do is have a plumber come and check your shutoff to make sure it's working, that water isn't going out to the system.
Okay.
I would have your house kind of audited by the plumber to make sure that system is operating the way it should, or have your irrigation company. The other thing I will say is, Dave,
yes,
any leak detection studies show that a break in the break in the service line would be before the meter.
we did a leak detection, and there was one house. And that was in September.
Okay. So, I would do that. I visibly saw irrigation going on. So I would check to make sure that your system is operating the way you think it is, because I don't think it is, sir.
Okay. So with the recommendation that you made, do I have to get a plumber in a city, or I can just get any plumber to come and check it?
You can get a licensed plumber to come and check it to make sure the system is, the shutoff is working and stuff. But I visibly saw it irrigating and like I said, to the point that the other thing is I would have your landscaper come in, or whoever controls the system and the amount of zones, because the amount of water that was being put on that lawn, it didn't even have a chance to get in the ground. It was just flowing down into the driveway and then down the hill.
Okay.
All right.
So, may I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
What time did you see that happening? Like around what time frame?
It was in the mornings and in the afternoon.
In the mornings and in the afternoon.
Yep.
Because in the afternoons I'm usually home. Okay. So I'll get the plumber to come and check it out. So yes, when the plumber comes in and check it out, is there something else that I need to do with you guys?
Dave, do you want one of your guys there?
No.
All right.
He now has a new meter.
Okay.
If anything happens in the future, we'll know.
All right.
What I would say, Mr. Chairman, is that, Emmanuel, when you have the plumber come out, just have some documentation of the findings of that. If he's going to do a food coloring test, if it's significant, if you do have a significant leak in your toilet, and they do, my stepfather's a plumber. He's told me about this, and he shows people exactly what we've told residents about you put food coloring in the top of the tank, and if you see it bleeding through right away into the bowl, then you know you have a pretty significant leak. Usually that's due to a flapper valve. Now, so if there is anything like that, just take some pictures of the finding, or have a copy of the plumber's bill and his findings. That would be preferable. Because I would definitely like a licensed professional to advise on what he's found.
Okay.
The other thing is, in regards to that too, I'd like to see a report on the shut off and make sure that system is operating the way it should, because like I said, I saw it multiple times. So, okay.
All right.
All right. So we will postpone this until such time. He made a payment. So Dave, he's not going to get charged interest going forward, correct?
I don't know if he made a payment or not.
Did you make a payment, sir?
No, we have not made a payment yet.
So what I would recommend you do tomorrow is call the office and talk to Brenda about making a partial payment. That way you won't get charged any interest. All right?
Okay. So when you say a partial payment, what percentage do you recommend?
They're probably going to ask you to pay if everything was dropped to the tier 1, and they'll do the math for you. All right?
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time.
Not a problem, sir. So 2.5. Osmana Georges? Sorry if I mispronounced. 2 Peter Drive. Are you present?
We have a couple more minutes before the appointment.
All right. Do you want to go to the next one then, Nate, and come back to that one?
Yeah, just so we have the opportunity. It's on the agenda for 7:50, so I want to make sure that we give them that exact time to be present.
Understood.
So yeah, if the next person is ready and willing to go sooner, then Bill Considine, 0.6.
Yeah, Bill Considine, 5 Walnut Street. Are you on with us, sir?
I
Hey,
see.
come on, guys. Thank you for taking me. So since the last time we spoke, at Todd's recommendation, I did the food color in the tank test, and it did in fact reveal a leak. I took some pictures and I submitted it so that it could be part of my record in my appeal. One of the things that was interesting was the amount of sediment that was in the tanks themselves. Now, the tank in the downstairs toilet, that's less than a year old. I redid the whole bathroom about this time last year, and that one leaked. The toilet on the upstairs, which is probably 5 years old, that did not exhibit the leaks. So I took all the water out of the tanks and cleaned up all the sediment out and replaced the flappers on both of the tanks, repeated the food color test, and did not see any leaks. I've been monitoring my Ion Water app, and the water usage is considerably less, a fraction of what I was originally billed on the last quarter. As I explained to you guys, it's just myself and my wife, both of us in our 60s, and we haven't changed our water habits at all. I did, in fact, go up to the town hall and paid the alleged cubic foot usage at the tier 1 rate plus the base charge. So that's where I'm at today. I mean, we've had a considerable amount of sediment in the water over the last year, brown water, discolored water, and I can document that, but I'm sure you guys know that as well. Could be the case that the sediment was holding the flapper open slightly, and that's where I was leaking. So, like I said, I scoured both tanks and got all the sediment out of the bottom of the tanks, replaced both of the flappers in both tanks, or each flapper in each tank.
All right. And that can happen, to be honest with you. A lot of people don't realize it beyond just the flapper getting old. So it is something you probably should check. I mean, the Ion app's going to tell you that.
Right.
Nate?
Thank you, Mr. Constantine, for coming back with us. I know you were here previously in our last meeting, so I'm glad we found a leak. I'm not glad that there was a leak, but so moving forward, you should see your usages fall
Right.
into line with historic values. So yeah, did you already? I'm not seeing any. Maybe I've lost it because it's kind of a large 2.6. But do we have a bill? Did you pay your bill?
Yeah, I went up to the town hall on, I've actually got a copy of it here, but it was a partial payment based on the 21,344 cubic feet of water at the tier 1 rate plus the base charge. I paid $1,150.62.
Oh, I see it here. I missed the.
No. Misty, Misty, can you come on for a second, please?
Yes, I can.
Do you have, was the bill in, his bill in the supplemental or the original packet? Because I don't see his bill in here like you had with the other ones. Unless I'm missing it.
Oh, it looks like I did not include it.
So,
Oh,
Can you-
I have. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I just have the usage history.
Yep, I
Right.
included the usage, but I missed the bill.
all right.
I have a copy of the bill right in front of me. I can hold up in front of the camera if that would help. I don't know if you
You
can
can
see
definitely get it.
No, that's good. So why don't we make the same motion, Nate, where we have a leak, and again, if we make this motion and it passes, this is kind of a one and done. It's now you're aware of the potentials and stuff like that, and to watch it. I'm glad you have the app. Nate, you feel up to making it, or do you want me to?
What's the account number?
That we don't have.
Oh, actually, hold on. No, it is right here. This is information that Mr. Considine provided. I'm showing account 1180.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we bill account number 1180 for the last quarter at tier 1 and abate the difference remaining.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Vote. Todd Melanson. Aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
All right. Mr. Considine,
Yes.
it's been adjusted to what you've paid,
Okay.
and we appreciate your time.
All right, guys.
And just keep an eye on it and stuff like that. And
I absolutely will. Yeah, and I appreciate you guys working with me on this.
not a problem, sir. All right. You have. a
Thank you
good
much.
evening. Not a
Okay,
problem.
have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
You too. I will call 2 Peter J Drive. I'm gonna kill this name. I'm sorry. Osmana Jurgis. Are you with us?
Did we receive any correspondence from this individual, Dave? Or did they speak with you? Do you know anything about what they're saying, what they want to say?
I haven't talked to this one.
Misty?
I spoke with them. They were one of the first people that called us back in October. They were just looking for an adjustment on their bill, much like others. I did include their usage as well as their graphs of ion water, if you wanted to take a look at those.
Why not? So this is prior year to this year?
So the ion water usage is for the month of August. And then I did include their usage history report, but they've only lived there for just about a year and a half. So I have limited information historically.
So
It's not going to match up.
I'm seeing bars, two sets of bars, ones that are really, really low and ones that are pretty consistently above or just below 3,000. So what are those little bars?
That's every other day of watering.
Ah, I see. So that would be like, what do you mean every other day watering?
Monday they're watering, Tuesday they're not, Wednesday they're watering, Thursday they're not.
You mean like irrigation,
Irrigation,
like grass?
yes.
Gotcha.
All right.
Hmm.
And they don't, and that's
Oh.
setting your timer every other day.
So hopefully it's not one of those cases where, oh, there's been no water coming out of my sprinklers, and then the thing's
No,
just been running.
On a timer
Okay.
every,
So we just table this to not table, just have it on the next agenda.
I would say unless they call and ask, they had an opportunity to be here. If they want their bill adjustment, I would suggest that they call the office because if there's any question, they'll call the office tomorrow or what was decided. But we need them here and present to talk to them before I would be willing to do anything. And if not, the bill stands as it is.
If you wish to take the workload off the office, I can reach out to the person if you want.
No, I don't want to overstep. We're not supposed to do the day-to-day stuff, Nate. If they call us with a problem, that's one thing.
Well, they're
reach-
bringing their problem before the board, us elected officials. It's not that if they want their item put on our agenda again, that we're exactly who they should be talking to.
I'm just very leery of us interjecting ourselves into the day-to-day. And
This
Add-
isn't. I don't consider this as day to day though. This is something that's being brought before the board due to policies and procedures set by the Board of Water Commissioners. I mean, it's a billing thing, but it's something where they're directly coming before the board for our decision.
and that's before the board.
I would say if you want to have the staff to reach out and say, if you want it adjusted, you need to appear before. But I don't think one of the commissioners should reach out and get involved on the administrative side.
Okay, I think that's. I don't think it's an administrative thing, but we can agree to disagree.
All right. So what we can ask is for the staff tomorrow to make a quick phone call, ask them if they're still interested in having their bill adjusted, and to if it is such a case, to request to be on the next meeting. And Nate, I'll go one step further. We can leave this and table it and leave it on the agenda for next meeting.
I just wouldn't want someone to, the circumstances of them missing the meeting. I'm a pretty
Correct.
understanding person.
No, and I get that. And I think if the staff reaches out, it meets both our goals. And to make one phone call, I don't think it adds too much. So if they, Dave, could you have either Brenda or Misty call this account, ask them if they still wish to be heard? And
Right, we'll
reach
call
out.
you.
All right, please do so. And we'll leave them tentatively on the agenda for now. And we'll table it until the next meeting unless they say otherwise. 2.7, Karen Raposa, 17 Balsam Drive.
I am here. Let's see. I can try. I don't know if that's going to work. I'm traveling. Okay, so I sent some slides. I don't know if you want to present the slides or not.
I don't know.
Is this stuff that was included in our meeting packet,
The initial one, yeah.
Misty?
Yes, it's all in there.
Scrolling. Aha, I see it.
Okay.
Okay, so the bottom line of what I'm asking you for here is I'm going to show you data that doesn't agree with the data that you used in your water rate study to assess why you're going to a tiered structure with it. So on working with the wonderful folks in your office there, and kudos to them for all their phone conversations and explaining the data to me. But they sent me the residential water usage for the last quarter for 1,928 residential customers. Understanding with that, here's another fluke in your system here. Those that were still on a gallon meter with it didn't see the average of what you said the average 20% increase was. They saw an average of 29% because you weren't charging the same amount of water for those on a gallon versus those on cubic feet with it. So those on gallons saw a baseline increase of 29%.
I answer that one?
Yes, you can, Dave.
Not
Is
in
it David?
new water
Excuse
rates at all.
Excuse me
Right.
for 1 second. Dave, did they convert over to cubic to a billing?
Right, for the last 13 years, Timberley Park was underbilled by about 8 to 9%.
Oh, no, I don't
So,
think you.
but also, you're looking. I'm going to correct you on one thing. You're
Bill.
looking at one quarter. On average, these rate studies look at about 8 to 10 years worth of usage and revenue. I think I answered the reason why for the rate studies earlier. You're looking at a snapshot. The rate study is based on a long-term usage projection. It should actually show the usage going down. It does on most water utilities. This was set up in accordance with everything that's coming from the state, every water association that you can name. This is a legal and just system. It's pretty much universal throughout. There are some older systems and smaller systems that still have it, that have the single block rate, but you don't take into account our ability to apply for SRF, our ability to maintain our water withdrawals under the Water Management Act in accordance with swimming. So your analysis is, I say again, a 1 quarter snapshot, which is not all the usages in the town, because not everyone is read on the same time. They cycle through on different books. So I respectfully and professionally disagree with you. I checked with water professionals in this state and in others. I've checked with DEP. This is what is supposed to be done.
Okay, I agree with you that this is legal. I do not agree with you that this is just with it, because you have far more people paying for water for fewer people. So, like I said,
No, your usage of your water is outside of the house is a choice. Using water inside the house is not. So, yes, you will pay more if you choose to use the water as you have. This is supposed to engender and promote water conservation. It is in everything going forward. The rate study itself adjusted for the affordability of the community as a whole, not the people that are using water into the 3rd and 4th tier. I don't know how else to say this. We've gone over this multiple times, and everything that I know about water says this is the correct thing to do. Protects the resource. It protects the water department. And I'm not exactly sure what you want us to do.
I
Mr.
want
Chairman.
you, because what I'm going
Yes, sir.
to show is that the data that you based it on is not accurate from the usage you just had. And my statement that those that were on a gallons never ever got any information to say that our rates are going to go up 29% with it. That was never listed in any bill structure with it. It was never flowed out for any public information with it. So you were flawed on flowing that kind of information out. I'm going to show the statement that you made last time was that 90% of your customers shouldn't see more than a 20% increase in their bill. So if you
But
go
it's
to,
also based on, if you go back to that rate study, to that presentation, to the gentleman who knows it a lot better than I do, who that's his living, said it's also, you're, like I said, you're taking a snapshot. We're talking about usage over a year or more. So I respectfully disagree with your analysis. Nate, you had a comment, please.
Yeah. Mrs. Karen, can I call you Karen?
yes.
Karen, I agree with you. I think this tiered rate is a terrible thing. Okay. I don't agree with any state agency saying you need to do this way. Okay. I don't have a water background. It's not my full-time job. I'm an elected official. I have my town hat on. I'm thinking of what you folks want. Also, we need to make sure that our department runs smoothly and that it's able to operate and provide safe water. Now, those are all very important things. Okay. Now you've expressed concern about this tiered system. I don't agree with it. I voted against it. There was another vote about rate studies after I was gone, and it went through. Maybe it's something we need to revisit, but I can't say, hey, we need to revisit this without also, I need facts. I don't want to be misled. And I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing DEP doesn't mandate this. DEP does mandate this. Oh, well, if you don't do what we say, you don't get the SFO or that you don't get our loans. It's a dirty, dirty thing.
So Nate, I'm going to stop you right there.
Sure.
There was a lot of effort put into that rate study. As elected officials, we are held to the state law and state regulations. Doesn't matter how we feel about them. To say that you don't agree with them or don't follow them is fine. But we put a heck of a lot of effort into that rate study. This is what the regulations say we should be doing. It's what the Water Conservation Standard says we should be doing. So for you to say in continual meetings, you don't have to listen to DEP or the state is not accurate.
Mr. Chairman, do not confuse what I am saying. If I have a choice and I'm elected to do what I'm elected as a water commissioner, and if I have a choice, there's no one that's going to tell me I have to choose one way or the other. Tell me I'm wrong.
State regs say you do.
I am not bound by state regs. I am bound by what my constituency wants. And if Dave says it cannot legally be done, well, then we have a problem and we got to discuss it.
So I would like to continue to present the data that you provided me. So your statement to say that 90% of your customers shouldn't see more than a 20% increase. If you look at slide 2, what it says is that 55% of your customers saw an increase over 25% with it. 30% of your customers saw an increase of over 50% with it. So your statement that 90% of your customers were not going to get impacted more than 20%.
Karen, so what now let me just go between you guys. So you're looking, I think if you are looking at just a quarter, the numbers that were presented, I believe, were on a multiple year basis. So you're not going to use the same amount of water in the summer as you would in the winter. Yes, it's the way the data is presented, but you can't, it's apples to oranges at that point.
For this much during the summer, I agree that, yeah, during the winter months, you may see, well, at least a 29% if you were in gallons with it, but you're at least going to see, this is not going to disappear. So you may have 20% for the other 3 quarters, but you're still going to have this much of an increase for this quarter.
It's usually a 3 to 1. Usually you see 1/4 of the usage in the winter. In the summer, the first 3 months, was it April, May, June, and then August, September, October, the usage is almost quadruple, and it's pretty static between all the different utilities. So you're looking at the quarter where most people use their water, whether
Sure.
it be outside or inside. So it's not a snapshot of what the annual effect will be. If I didn't communicate that correctly, that's on me. But this rate study was based on multiple years of usage. It fits the affordability matrix that was in that.
How does
So-
that when you're showing that only 37% of your customers saw an increase of 20%?
So you're looking at a snapshot of one quarter where the highest usage. It's
63%
not,
of your customers saw an increase of more than 20%, which is not what your statement was.
so I don't know what to tell you other than it was, you also, with water, in dry seasons, the water usage goes up a lot. I don't know what to tell you. We voted on a rate study that was done by a third party. It wasn't something we came up with out of the blue.
Yep.
We
No,
presented the reasons and stuff like that.
I think- so what I'm asking you, if you go to slide 3, so I put in on slide 3 the chart that was from the water study
Mhm.
and chart of what the actual usage was. And this is summer usage and summer usage. So it's apples and apples here. So you can see from the water study rate, by the time you get out to tier 4, you're supposed to pretty much have 0% people there. If you look at what the actual study is, for those that were using a high usage water, you can see a spike up in the number there with it. So it's all those customers that you have real customers that are getting impacted that are completely ignored and not in your water study rate. So the rates that they were using on the data is flawed because it's wrong against what your actual rates are. Look at the spike on those that are using high water.
So I'm also going to say again, you're looking at one quarter, not an annual usage, and not over multiple years. So I would say that your data is flawed. The rate studies are based on a methodology. We voted on it. It was done and approved.
So you have the data from the actual.
No, the Ty and Bond does. I don't. They pulled all our data for however many years they pulled. And they put it into their rate study and they looked at trends. They looked at revenue. This was all before the inflation stuff happened. So yeah, they have the data. If you want to try and reach out to them and get the amount of data that they have, there's no way we could give you that sort of data. There's just the amount that you're talking about is immense. They pull it in computers. If you want, we can try and have Ty and Bond come back on and explain it, but you're looking at a snapshot.
Explain it. I want them to actually show the data behind this against the actual towns and usage. Because what are you doing to those customers where you see that spike at the end?
So in some of the ones I've looked at, right? Some of these people are using 150 to 180 to 200,000 gallons in one quarter. Part of the tiered rate system is to engender water conservation. Usages of that amounts, I would not consider to be water conservation concerned. I
Data that was more than like 120, maybe. There was nothing in the 200s.
Dave, what did we have some 200 maybe? No, because I did see one that was
There's a number over 200.
say again.
And there was a number over 200, and there's also a number of people who are watering 2 and 3 times a day.
So
100% accurate. 2 and 3 times a day.
You're talking usages, anything in that range. When you get up into the 4th tier, if you're not an industry, that's a lot of water usage. And I stand by the decision the previous board made. I stand by the rate study. So I'm not exactly sure where we're going to go with this. I mean,
You're having a large percent of your customers pay more than the others with it to accommodate them?
No, not to accommodate them. I again, using that amount of water goes against everything that they're trying to do in protecting the resources, protecting the stress on the wells and stuff like that. I'm not
But this
I'm
is
not
a-
going to go back on the previous vote, and I'm not going to go against the rate study that was presented.
But
It's
the
way
rate-
outside.
wrong. The rate
No,
study,
actually, it's not. Your snapshot is of 1 quarter in a drought, where they looked over multiple years, which takes in the varying weather and everything else like that. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. And like I said, I'm going to stand by the vote of the previous board and the rate study that was presented.
okay, well, I'm asking you to revisit it. I don't know what has to get done with that to know if there's a vote rather than a person or two. The data, I believe, as I show here from the actual usage, is flawed with it because you have a whole group of people that are over like the 10,000 gallons, which isn't even shown on what they assumed for their rate study to be with it. And what this also shows is that because you have so many people now that are paying that higher rate, what you have as income now is also should be much higher than what you assumed. So your revenue is higher, which should like drop the base down again.
Which is not
That's
correct.
you're welcome to your opinion. But like I said, the rate study stands as it is. It was done by professionals. It was over multiple years. And I'm going to stand by it because there's a whole lot of other things that are attached to it. So I appreciate your time and your effort.
So you're
I'm-
telling me that the data, the actual data that is shown in here
Mhm.
from air water rate study is from your actual Townsend customers, including or not including Timberley Park, of however it was blended in there for a certain amount of years.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Excuse me.
Yeah, thank you. How many years?
10.
It was 10, Dave? I wasn't sure. All right. Like I said, we can make the rate study available to you, but these people, this is what they do. All right. They fit your usage, your revenue in. They fit into an affordability matrix. If you use into that upper tier, that was by choice. This isn't something funding something else.
Yep. No.
We've gone over this.
Just
so
saying,
the-
if it chooses to use more water, they shouldn't have to pay more for it. It's like if you want to drive further on your car with gasoline, are you supposed to be?
Make that comparison. Water is not this. The water resource is not the same as any other type of energy or anything else like that. I heard that argument made last time. It does not hold. It doesn't, because you don't have the added benefit of fire protection. You don't have the health benefits. You don't have the health requirements and regulations that are involved. So that comparison is not apt. It is not straight up. And like I said, your data is a snapshot, not a long-term one. So the rate study as it holds stands. We will have another rate hearing in January, I believe, January or February, to see where we are. Because there was projections of what we would need to be doing in the future, and that was even before inflation. So we will see where we stand on revenue and where we stand on the rates. But the rate, I committed when I first got in here to having rate studies done at least annually, not rate studies, but rate hearings, so we can see where we are and what effect our rates are having. But
So do you know from your summer usage what you had as your predicted revenue versus what you had for actual?
off the top of my head, no, I don't. We are probably, you have to also consider this was a drought. People ended up using a lot more water probably than they would have. The year before, when it was incredibly wet, the water usages statewide were dramatically less than their annual averages. Just because most irrigation systems, which is where the majority of water is used outside, have rain gauges on, and a lot of them didn't come on because of the amount of water we got. So you're looking at a snapshot of a dry summer where a lot of water was used outside. It doesn't buffer out what happens over the long term. And so I would say, we could put you in contact with them if you wanted to discuss it with you, but that rate study was voted and approved, and I'm not apt to go back on that vote.
But you're revisiting that in January, is what you said.
Won't
Great
change
hearing.
it won't change the tiered structure, but yeah,
Then what are you revisiting in January?
just to
It's a
see where
rate
we are with
hearing,
revenue. Yeah.
Oh.
Just to
So-
see where we are and stand where we are to make sure that nothing needs to be adjusted. Potentially you could adjust it down. I don't think we would. I think we would hold. But also with the increase in inflation and increase in prices, I can't say which way we will go.
So do you know if you went to your flat rate, what % increase people would have seen?
Off the
I
top of
wanna
my
s-
head, Karen, I don't know, to be honest
Oh,
with you.
Did I see a 50%?
Yes,
Somewhere.
if you went to your flat rate that was in the study, every customer across the board would have seen a 50% increase,
Okay.
which is
Okay.
like fair from my thing for everyone to pay the same because you already have a high % of your customers that are seeing that. So
Actually, Dave, what is the percentage? Because there's an awful lot of people down the other side of the scale.
Bring out something. Why did we have discolored water in Timberley Park this year? Because when the irrigation went on, it strained the system to its max and was causing a lot of havoc and damage. And that's the truth. And people don't want to hear it, but it's the absolute truth. We have one well down. We're about to lose the 2 on Timberley Park in the near future if we don't have a treatment plant. And those are going to go down. And that's 100% the truth. And why do we need the additional water? Is for the summer usage for people irrigating.
So listen, we've gone around and around on this. The rate study was done. The rate structure was voted and approved. It fits everything I know about water.
I don't know what that
You're
means.
not everything regulation wise, state, regionally, nationally says this is what should be done, needs to be done. This is what most other communities in the Commonwealth are doing. It goes towards our ability to get an SRF loan for the PFAS treatment plant, which we're talking somewhere between 14 and $16 million. It gives us 0% interest and principal forgiveness of up to, I think was 43%. It goes in our ability to maintain water withdrawals under our Water Management Act permit. There is a lot more to this than just what benefits the high users.
Oh, no, I don't think it benefits the high usage. I think it benefits fairness across the board for someone that's using the same commodity.
So,
So
Mr. Chairman, you were saying, but we're basically forced to make this decision.
Pretty
We
much,
don't
yeah.
have a choice in the matter.
No, you don't. Not if you want the SRF loan that helps us fund with principal forgiveness and loan forgiveness. Not if you want to maintain the volumes that we currently have with the state.
Loan
No.
forgiveness, someone's paying for that somewhere eventually anyways. There's no such thing as loan forgiveness. Someone's got to foot the bill.
Right now, our community would not. You're talking
Somebody
40,
would.
43, 45%. If you can come up with a way for us to fund this, I'd be willing to listen. But this is what is in the water conservation standard. This is what is supported both federally and state. I don't know how many times I have to say this. And it is backed up with your ability to obtain SRF and maintain your volumes when you have your permit review. It's in the water conservation questionnaire when you go for an SRF loan or for your permit review.
So what's to say on the tiered approach that you don't change the amount of water in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4?
They can be adjusted. But that's what the next rate study, it'll show us where we stand and what needs to get moved where. They get adjusted all the time. But the tiered rate structure is the way water is supposed to be billed. It is supposed to engender and promote water conservation. If you choose to use the water above that level, then yes, you will pay a higher rate for it. Utilities do the same thing. We want to compare utilities. Electrical does the same thing when the grid gets stressed. But it's not it's not applicable to water because they're not under the same regulations. They're not under the same
Oh, I agree with that. I think your statement that 90% of your customers weren't going to see more of a 20% impact is completely flawed.
Well, and again, I will say your data is of a small snapshot, not a multi-year one. And I would say your data is flawed. It's in a dry period when 3/4 of the usage of the year happens. So I respectfully, I don't know where we're going with this conversation other than the rate study is going to stand as is until the next rate hearing. That the tiered rate system, the tiered rate system is going to stay because it's mandated, for a lack of a better term.
I think you really need to look into your actual data when you assess how much goes into each tier with it, because what you were saying, what your data rate says, does not agree with reality of what your customers are using.
Okay.
And I think you should also see that your revenue in the last quarter should be extremely high above what you had predicted it to be.
I'll probably agree with you that because we did go through the drought, and if you walked around and if you saw a green lawn, then the water was being used on that, and probably more than it would in normal terms. Again, I respectfully disagree with the assessment that you did. I appreciate the effort you put into it. I appreciate your attention to this. But I would say that, again, and we've both repeated multiple times, both you and I, that, your data, I will say, was based on a snapshot, whereas the rate study was put on multiple years. And it takes into weather differentiations and a whole bunch of other things that this snapshot doesn't. So when we have the rate hearing, I hope and I expect you're here. When we have meetings with the tie and bond person, I would more than welcome your input and your analysis behind it. But as it stands right now, it stands as is.
All right. I think you're being unfair to your customers, but we got to agree to disagree. And I got to use.
All right. I appreciate your time, Karen.
Thank you.
Coming.
I see a hand up. Mrs. Landry.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're talking about multiple year stuff here. I just want to say, for one thing, I fall in your top tier. And on Harbor Trace, we are a new neighborhood. We do not have trees. It was built in a sand pit. So I kind of take offense to kind of like being kind of portrayed as somebody who's reckless at the water usage I'm using, because for one thing, if I don't use the water that I use, I mean, most of my water is to go towards the irrigation. I have a 28,000 square foot lawn. And even with the water usage I used this past time was 24,100 cubic square feet. my lawn's still burned. So, and I lose a little piece of my lawn every year. So it's very difficult to keep the lawns, you know, in halfway decent shape here, which we do a pretty good job, but that is what it takes. It's not reckless. It is what we bought. They are high maintain, you know, it takes high maintenance to take care of these lawns. And I don't see how wanting a nice lawn that's part of the American dream is, you know, I don't want to be feeling like, you know, oh my God, I'm some horrible person, because I want a nice place to live. I want a nice lawn. And I'm not being reckless about it because, like I said, the lawn's still burned. And I do lose parts of my lawn every year. It's very difficult. Aside from that, regarding multiple years, back in 2016, we had a worse drought than we had this past year. My usage was actually a lot more that year. It was 33,600 square feet, cubic feet, yeah. My bill back then for that usage was $1,045. This year, my usage was 9,500 cubic feet less, and my bill was just about $3,000, $2,935. I wasn't comparing to last year because last year was an okay summer. It wouldn't be fair to compare it. So that's why I went back to 2016. For me, that's a 300% increase, just about. That's not 20%, that's not 29%, that's not 50%, that's a 300% increase. My raises at work don't go that high, needless to say. I don't think anybody's does. So, you know, on top of that, well, there's a couple things. I have heard at least one of my toilets go on a couple of times. So I don't know if there's a real issue or not. I've only heard it like literally maybe 3 times over the period of months. So I don't know.
One thing I would recommend you do then is do the leak test. You can call the office and they'll let you know how to do it. The other is if you have the new meter, I would say get a and you would, if it was a leak, a long-term leak, you would see it in your winter usage as well. But see if you have the new meter, I would recommend you get the app. The thing about it too is you have to keep in mind that there are certain drought restrictions. Now, we didn't apply it. We kept our permit restrictions. Figuring everyone that had gone through the pandemic and everything else, we would let people self-moderate this summer during the drought. 2016, you shouldn't have been using any water outdoors. There was a severe drought, and I do know for a fact that the region that we are in was in a no outdoor water usage.
That's not what the sign said. The sign said
No, this summer, this summer, yes. No, this summer, yes. But the state drought of 2016, this region we were allowed this year to stick to our permit restrictions. But I do know for a fact that in 2016, initially those signs were out, but they were taken down and we went to a no water usage. Almost the whole state was in 2016.
Well, I didn't know about the no water usage. After, you know, I kind of sort of remember the signs kind of disappearing, but I didn't know why. My assumption was, oh, they must have lifted the restriction. So that's all I didn't hear anything.
Listen, communicating water and water restrictions over a large group of people is not an easy task, especially at the time we had a much smaller staff at the time. So I understand that part of it. One thing, hopefully we can work on is communicating that better through the website and stuff like that. One thing too, Andrea, I would ask that you do is urgent alerts that get put up on the website and things like that, you can sign up for an e-alert. You give them your email, you can pick and choose what you want get sent to you, but urgent alerts and things like that. I do know that going forward, the state is going to change the state drought management plan. And it won't necessarily give us the latitude to follow what our permit restrictions are. So that we will get held to what the state drought task force determines. I'm not sure if it'll be next year, but it is something that they're working on. So I don't think we would have, like, if it had already occurred, I don't think we would have had the latitude. I will say that the town was very kind in allowing us to put up the state drought level this year. In those digital signboards, which were in the center, and I believe one was
By the high school.
by the high school. Thank you, Dave. They did say drought level 3. It did mention reduce or stop all outdoor water usage. But again, our water signs are what our permit was based on, what our restrictions are. And that was what we legally get held to. Our stance at the time was to allow people to self-moderate, understanding they were in a drought. So it's not to make someone feel bad, but the water conservation standards pretty apt. One thing I would recommend, if you are having the issues you are, I would do the steps I talked about. EPA WaterSense has a good way of maintaining a lawn and making it resilient on the long term. I would go and see, if you're going to make the investment in what you're talking about, and you're going to make the choice to use the water outside.
Well, see, right now, I've made the choice to not water at all, to lose my entire lot of lawn because I cannot afford $3,000 in one quarter. And then, you know, it was last quarter, I believe it was, I don't have the numbers, I didn't write them down, but from year to year or whatever, it was percentage wise very similar to this quarter from year to year, from 2016 to this year.
Is also, though, keep, you know, what you're describing.
I have to take out I have to go to the bank tomorrow or at some point soon and actually take out a loan to pay this one bill. Never mind the next bill that's coming that will, who knows what that'll be, if that'll be another couple $1,000s. I'm just a single income household.
Andrea, what I would suggest you do then is we can do a payment plan where you don't have to pay it all up, where you won't.
Yeah, but I have to pay interest on top of
On the payment plans? I don't think so. Dave?
Well, that's what I was told. I was told I'd have to pay interest.
You have to pay interest.
So on top of these ungodly rates that you are now charging, I have to pay you guys interest on top of it all. So can I even ask what the interest rate is, if you know?
Dave? I don't know.
I'm just going to assume it's going to be more than what my bank.
What? Is it, Dave?
A month.
What is it?
1.5 a month.
1.5 a month?
1.5%.
Percent per month. All right, I wrote that down. I don't know how that would work.
So what I would suggest, so you're not taking out a loan and paying a much higher percentage, is to call the office and set up a payment plan. The other thing is, if, like I said, you've made the investment in the system and everything else like that, you've made a choice that you won't use the water. But what I would suggest you do, if it is something you want to consider, look at the amount of loom that was put down. If there's less than 2 inches of loom, or even less than 3 inches of loom, then your lawn never had a chance. That loom and the root growth behind it is what makes those sustainable over the long term. If you overwater it, those roots don't grow and they burn out. You need to let the roots grow deep, and that means limiting the water you do and the fertilizer you put down. There are, EPA WaterSense has great recommendations on being able to maintain a resilient lawn. There are also new drought-resistant seeds that allow you to use less water, actually, and allow you to cut it less because it's been engineered to grow the roots more than the actual lawn blades of grass. I
Well, that would
think
mean I'd have to replace a 28,000 square foot lawn, and that's not gonna happen.
I'm just trying to
Something like that,
go.
you know?
No, I understand that. I'm just trying to give you alternatives and things like that. I don't have anything better to give you at this point in time, other than what I've suggested.
But I just, you know, I need to express what impact this has on someone like me. And I don't know if people assume that people who are paying in the highest tier are rich, but that's not the case here. It's not the case in my neighborhood. We're just middle class. You know, we have, you know, pretty big houses, not mansions or anything like that. But we're not rich by any stretch, and I'm certainly not rich at all. And the impact it has on me, you talk about, like, you know, health and all of that, water conservation and health and stuff like that, health benefits. But basically it's having the opposite effect for me. Like, for me, I'm losing health, excuse me. I'm losing health benefits because of this rate tier, because I do have medical equipment in my house. And I can't afford now, because I have to pay off these ungodly bills, water bills, very specifically, because they've gone up so high and so fast and so high.
Keep in mind,
I can't afford to buy what I need to buy to keep the, you know, what I'm using in my house. I got 2 pieces of equipment in my house, and I can't afford to keep them maintained.
Andrea, can I make one other suggestion to you that may help you? If you have the medical equipment that you're talking about and the medical needs you do, what I would suggest is the town has a social services coordinator who has access to different resources that help people in your circumstances, both from the state and other agencies. And I would suggest, I believe her name is Emily McGrath. She is a new position at the town. If you have the medical needs and situation you're talking about, then I would recommend you make a call to her tomorrow. See if there is something you can do, or if there is a resource she has access to, or that may help you.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'll give that a try.
All right.
But, you know, I'm really just having a hard time with this, because if I do, which I really have no choice, I honestly do not really have a choice to decide to not water my lawn because we are in the location we are in. My lot and other neighbors in my neighborhood have talked about the same thing, not being able to afford to no longer to water their lawns within that first year, because it's like the desert out here in the summertime.
It sounds probably too. Yeah, I think that was an old sand pit. So
Yeah.
it very well may be there's not enough loom was put down when those lawns were seeded. And to be honest with you, it wouldn't matter how much water you put down. I have a feeling if there's not enough loom there, that you're in a self-defeating prophecy that lawn is not going to be maintained.
I mean, without big shade trees, I mean.
No, even if you don't have enough loom, there's not enough area. So the water only sticks to that area that has loom in it. So if you have 1 to 2 inches of loom, doesn't matter how much water you put on it, it's going to go straight through and into the sand, and it's not going to engender root growth or anything like that. So what I don't have a good alternative for you, I guess, other than the suggestions that I've made to you. I would look up stuff called xeriscaping. There may be ways for you to maintain the look and integrity you're looking for, but in different ways that won't need the watering that you do.
Mhm.
I apologize that you're set up with that where all the trees were taken. I'm going to assume all the trees were taken down and that was planted when you bought it, so it
Well,
wasn't your.
I don't think there were really any, as far as big trees, I don't think there were
No, and
big
it
trees.
no probably wasn't if it was the sand pit I'm remembering.
Yeah,
So I think down to the other end of Harbor Trace where the well is, that's more wooded, and once you get down the slope
Correct.
and stuff. But what I would suggest you do is, call the staff. 1.5% is a heck of a lot better than anything you're going to get. I wouldn't want to see you taking out a loan to do that because that would cost you more in the long run. Set up a payment plan. Call Emily. See if there's any resources available since you have medical issues that may or may not help you. See if you can work with her on that. And then really and truly, go through EPA WaterSense, see if there's a better way to take care of what you want done. Look into the term xeriscaping, see if there are adjustments you can make that won't reduce your American dream. Those that's about the best I can do at this point in time for you, Andrea.
yeah, okay, that's fine. The last thing I just wanted to mention regarding that was, what's the potential, which I think is quite high, because of these extremely, extremely high water rates, that all of our property values are going to tank. Because as a customer, I guess you could say, looking for property, one of the things you ask about is how much does it cost you in your worst month to heat your house? How much does it cost? In this case, people are going to ask, if anybody wants to sell their house, how much does it cost to water that lawn? Because it's, they're pretty large lawns, and nobody's going to want to pay that. When they hear that, they're gonna walk. And not only that, even if I say I decided, I'm gonna bite the bullet, I'm gonna water my lawn like I always did, and just to keep it nice, even though it's gonna, do damage financially. And I went to sell my house. Somebody comes, I got a beautiful lawn, but maybe some of my neighbors don't. Because they decided not to water, but either way, it doesn't matter because nobody's going to want to spend $3,000 and a quarter to water on. So, and then on the other end of it, if I decide which I pretty much have no choice, to not water my lawn and just let the lot turn to dust, that in of itself will bring my property value way down. And again, who is going to want to buy a house whose lawn looks like crap, basically, or there isn't a lawn there at all? So, we're just looking at a lot of problems from this. I mean, good luck trying to get anybody to move to Townsend. Nobody I know pays these kind of water bills. I've talked to some people at work and they don't have anything that even approaches a 400% increase in water, a 300% increase in water. So,
Andrea, something else. I know you're concerned about financials with paying the bill, but if I have seen properties where people do have a separate irrigation system than their domestic water, and they have like a well. I don't know where the water table is, so that how far down the water table is would just would let you know how much the cost is. But and I don't know anything about that, but maybe a private well just for your irrigation
I have actually started to think about that and maybe trying to see if I can have a point installed just for the irrigation.
The point wells aren't allowed anymore, Andrea, on the well regs.
What is the point well?
It's where they just pound a pipe into the ground. It probably goes down about 20 to 30 feet and you put a vacuum. It's kind of like the old Main Street well, Nate, where the pipes don't go down that low and you vacuum pull the water through. So you're punching into a point where there potentially is water and then you're pulling it out. But those led to aquifer contamination. And from what I understand, those type of point wells and shallow dug wells you have to do the artesian. I could be wrong, but I would double check with the Board of Health on the well regs. Also make sure there are properties that are in and around the municipal wells that are deed restricted against having a private well on the property. So I would double check your deed to make sure that deed restriction isn't in there.
Deed restriction?
Yeah, so if you go to the assessors, you should be able to pull up the deed and it'll list any sort of restrictions on it. Also, I'm going to assume your property is big enough, but I believe, and Chaz, correct me if I'm wrong, the town has a minimum 2-acre lot for a private well.
Without looking at the reg, I think you're right. I think it is 2.
So basically, I have no options, is what you're saying, is what you're telling me.
Well, is your property, well, I don't know if your deed restriction, before you go down that route, I would make sure of that.
Okay.
Because I don't know. I just know there are some properties, like most of Timberley Park is deed restricted because they didn't want a private well competing with the 2 Witches Brook wells when they put them in.
Well, there's other things. You have to be 100 feet from any other well and septic system.
Right, and that's why the 2-acre minimum was put in, I believe. So if your lot, I don't know the size of your lot, Andrea, but if it's 2 acres.
No, it's a little over an acre. All of our lots are.
So, I mean, it would be worth a call to the Board of Health to see. But I do believe the state well regs don't allow like a point well. You'd have to call the Board of Health, find out, what the town allows for a well, what the state regs say. I do know you have to use a certified well driller that's on the mass list and stuff like that. So just do a little bit more research on that and you might be able to. I'm not saying you're not able to.
Yeah.
Just before you go too far down the road, there's just a couple of things you need to check. All right?
All right, I'll give it a try, but.
The first 2 calls I'd beat is to the office tomorrow and to Emily to see if there's any sort of assistance you can get that would help you in relief.
All right,
All right?
yeah.
All right.
Other choices, so,
All right. Thank you for your time, Andrea.
thanks.
Is there, Andrea, can you drop your hand?
Oh, yeah, hold on. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyone else?
So yeah, we can pull up 1.5. Is there anybody else here for public comment? Okay, I will close 1.5. 3.1, discuss and review Pearlbrook service agreement. Dave, can you bring us up to date on this?
Talking about a point well. So 1 Pearlbrook Road has a point well that failed. And he owns all the way out to Main Street. Here's the problem. To tap the main, he would have to cut into 119, which you're not going to be able to do till next spring
Why not?
because it's a state highway and you have to get a permit from the state.
No.
And the hot top plants are going to close soon, and he's not going to be able to cut it, repair it. Well, it takes anywhere from 30 to 90 days to get a permit from the state.
Yeah, we're already in the frost time. So the first frost has come in, so they're not going to let us cut.
So there's two alternatives that we discussed. Right now, he had no water, so we tapped him off the hydrant branch temporarily to get him to have water. Not a good thing for the long term. So he understands it's temporary. So depending on you, here's the two alternatives. He can get a permit from the state, cut 119, take that temporary line off the hydrant and put it to 119. Now, the other one where he is more than willing to do, if you have the agreement.
Yeah, I saw it.
All right, so there's already a 3-gated intersection in the intersection.
Yep.
So if we supply the pots, which I have a lot of them, including the 8-inch line, then he will pay to dig the line in the spring and to pave the patch. What it would cost us in pots is probably about $1,000, but it gets us down the road. It also gets us to across the street from number 2. And then if somebody else wants to do it in the future, or we want to continue it, we can. But do that much and put that much out to bid for us would be anywhere from about 30 grand. So I have most of the pots. I have most of the line. He'll trench it, put the line in that we supply, and whatever else, and then take that temporary line off and put to the new main.
So it'll get in water quicker, Dave? So you won't have to wait until the spring, or?
No. This can't happen till the spring.
Okay. Either way, it can't happen till the spring.
Right.
So I'm okay with this. What I would suggest we do is, if this is an agreement, I think we should have town council review it, make sure we're not putting ourselves in the town at any sort of liability.
Right.
And I would definitely have him review it, and then, if he's got any questions or stuff, maybe put him or you and him in contact with the homeowner. If we can help alleviate this, and Dave, how are you going to keep a hydrant attachment from not freezing through the winter? I mean,
No, it's underground.
oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking hydrant to the side of the house. Sorry.
But if you shut off the gate to the hydrant, he has no water, or you flush it. But I'm trying to help somebody who's in dire.
No, Dave, I'm okay with that. That's an emergency. It's an allowable connection for right now. It's metered, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The line
So long as, you know what, Nate, what do you feel about it? If town council agrees that the agreement is good to go, or make some changes to it, I'm not opposed to allowing the gentleman to do it. You'll oversee it, right, Dave? You'll have Keith or Kevin or somebody review it over. Oh,
Right, but I want you to give your
No.
blessing on this instead of having tap into 119. But he'd rather do this.
if he'd rather do it, it's going to save everybody a lot of money, and it'll be done right. And this
He gets
gets,
us down the road for other people.
what you're feeling, Nate?
Where's the hydrant?
It's in front of 532 Main Street.
Okay.
It's not that far from Probrook Road.
Using it. Yeah, it's on the front of his house, isn't it?
He owns 532 and 1 Probrook.
Yep. What's he doing right now? Is he just have like a hose connecting?
Oh, no. He tapped onto the hydrant branch, which is 6 feet down, and ran it underground all the way to his house.
Oh, so it's already done.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't leave it attached to a hydrant, because the hydrant's a bleeder, and he needs a formal connection to the line. So this gets him through to
right.
the spring.
So the hydrant is on his side of the road on
Yes.
119.
Right.
So you're not allowed to run a service connection through one property to get to another. That's the
Well,
problem.
he can give an easement too. It's his property.
Wouldn't that be faster?
Well, he can, but I can't leave him on the hydrant branch.
Oh, there's two mains there?
No, there's one main. So the way it works is, Nate, the lines like this, and then a hydrant branch is like almost like a service line that comes off, and then it only goes to the
Oh, I
hydrant.
see. Okay. So the main, all right.
He can't cut in the road. The main's in 119. He
Yeah.
can't cut from now till the spring.
But with the
Right,
three-gated
so-
intersection, he can do it. If I'm understanding this right, the three-gated intersection, if he connects to that, he's not. Is he still cutting 119, Dave, or not?
He is
So-
not.
So if he connects to the three-gated intersection, and I'm not sure where that is in relation to the hydrant, it gets him off the hydrant tap, which that's not a long-term solution as is. If he cuts into the three-gated intersection, he doesn't have to cut 119. If he does all the work himself, and we through this service agreement with him, and we supply him the parts, and he's paying for the parts, Dave.
No, I have most of the parts, including
Okay.
the
So he's
Supply
gonna
the
do the work. All right. Look, before I make a decision one way or the other, send this to town council, let him review it, see what liabilities exist, what laws may not be being broken or whatever. Anything that can save somebody money and save us money in the short term, and get us to where we want to be and not disturb the general public by cutting 119, I'm okay with. The sooner we get him off that hydrant branch, the better for him.
right. I just had to get him water for the winter.
No, I understand that. Appreciate you doing that. But yeah, have town council review it before I don't think Nate or I could really make a decision unless it's reviewed by, I'm okay to send it to town council to have him
That's all I
review it.
want.
Nate, you all right with it, or?
Oh yeah. That's why I'm here to make decisions.
But
Okay.
no, but what I'm saying is, you agree with me? It needs to go to town council before you and I step in this.
I mean, it's someone that's doing something on their own within the
We're just gonna
confines of our rules and regs. I don't really see an issue. But yeah, I mean,
I'd just like to be safe so we don't put ourselves in any liability. And it's not like it needs to be done tomorrow. It's not going to get done until the spring. So if town council, it just safeguards us a little bit, I would
It's gonna
say.
be town
is
council.
town council familiar with our rules? I mean, they're going to need to. So what I'd like to see is I want this done within the confines of our rules and regs with some alterations to allow for Mr. Normington to, facilitate this. But
If this was-
without saying much more, as long as it's done to the letter, then what could go wrong? I mean, if he gets hurt on his own property while doing this service, how would that fall on us? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're right, but it's definitely different.
With liability, I've found in the utility world, it's better safe than sorry. And if this needed to be done tomorrow, Nate, or we had time to do this before the winter, I'd kind of side with you. But where we have the time and we can be a little bit more diligent, both for the town and us, not us, but when I say us, I mean the water department.
There's a lot of stuff in here. So he's putting in his service.
Well, yeah, because it's a decent distance. It would cost him a lot more if we did it.
So, right. But is he installing an 8-inch main?
Yes.
Is he licensed to do so, Dave?
No, he's hiring Shepherd.
Oh, okay. So he's doing that, and we're a lot. It would be like if you were building a development, Nate, and you were going to put in. So, like in the development, on a new development, the contractor is responsible for putting in the line in accordance with the local utilities laws, restrictions, and codes.
Right.
But they hire a contractor to do it. So think of this as a 4-house subdivision that they're going to run an 8-inch or a 4-inch line out to. Why are you doing an 8-inch out there, not a 4-inch? Is that because that's all you have?
No, there's like 20 houses on that street.
16, yeah.
Okay, never mind. Now you're, all right. So your 8-inch is planning in case this happens to someone else on the same road.
Then someone can take it from that point and go.
All right, all right. Understood. I appreciate the forethought. So he's going to hire. The thing is if we were to do this, Nate, we'd have to send it out to bid, and the cost of it would go up dramatically because you're going to send it out to bid for procurement. So
I like
it's
it.
safe. I like it too. I just want to make sure we're not breaking any laws or
We are
anything
not,
that I don't know about. I just think it's the best thing to do, just to make sure we're crossing all the I's and all the T's. Listen, I bumble into enough stuff and enough walls completely on my own. I don't need anybody's help. I don't mind someone like scoping it out, making sure before I step, we've done the right thing. So yeah, Dave, I'm okay with Nate. Are you okay with them sending it to town council? Or, I mean, it's not going to hurt us.
an admin.
Take a look, get a second set of eyes on it. Fine.
Dave, you can send it to town council and then we'll come back and revisit it.
So hold on a second.
I'll bring it to.
So
the
say
town admin.
town council looks at this and says, no, I wouldn't go anywhere near this. Never mind, just like, oh, I'd add this verbiage here, put this here. What if he just comes back and says, no, don't do it? What are we just gonna?
No, I think at
alternative?
that point, we come up with an alternative. I think I've dealt with town council enough on quite a few things. So long as this doesn't violate a law, he's not going to say no. And getting him off the hydrant branch as soon as possible is in the best interest of everyone. So I don't think that that's a possibility. He may come up with verbiage that protects us from liability, adds a clause on waiving this, that, or I don't know. But I do think that it needs to have a second set of eyes that,
Just so you know, he pulls the permit for the road. The only responsibility we have is to give him the parts. That's it.
What if
Everything
the
else,
parts fail? Are
what's
you-
that?
If you're the supplier of these parts and something happens with these parts,
that's why I want town council he'll put in the words that protect us from that. So that's
I'm
a good,
just-
that's a
I
good
gotta think
example.
about this stuff.
No, then that's a good example, Nate.
I saw
to be quite
your. I don't want you to think I'm beating you down, David.
Well,
But I just
so you
want
know,
to think of
if this
things.
else, we own it.
Yeah, after it, because we can connect to, he's talking about cutting open the what's the name of the road? Pearl Brook Road.
But that's
If we need to extend down there, then it becomes part of our system. Also, if he's hiring a contractor or a licensed contractor, Gary puts in water main for a living. So it allows him to hire his own contractor like you would if it was a subdivision. And that's kind of the way I would look at it, and let town council protect us with any sort of verbiage he needs to and stuff. I don't see him saying no. And quite frankly, I'd feel comfortable going to the mat to get this done, Nate. So I don't mind fighting those type of battles. I definitely want a second set of eyes on it just to make sure we're protected from something like that, like you just mentioned. Say, a lot of this is initially going to be on Gary. And so I don't think he's going to do it wrong, but say a gate fails or something to that effect, or the tap into the water main breaks. I think town council looking at and putting in protections that would safeguard us or make sure we're safeguarded isn't a bad idea.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah.
But I don't
not
mind-
much is changing here. He's basically just digging and facilitating.
Correct. And that I don't see there any issues, but like I said, law is not, I know regulations, law, and not so much.
All right,
So
well, let's do that and then make sure everything is very specific here, because I mean this is pretty short. It's
yeah,
just
and
a few
that's
paragraphs here.
Right.
Let's be overly redundant just because we're involving one of our residents, and I mean I think I love it. I love the
no,
idea.
I like the idea. I like the
Not-
idea of saving everybody money, Nate.
Yeah.
So
It's a good deal for everybody.
all right,
Mr. Chair, can I say something?
yes, sir.
Nate, I just want to throw out there, the town council doesn't say whether you can or you can't do anything. What town
Oh,
council
yes,
does,
I know.
you
But
know,
if town council recommends we do not do this and we do it, how does that make me look?
but he doesn't recommend. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is
Right.
that he'll just go, if this goes the way this is written, this is possibility of what will happen. And then you guys decide on how you want to do it, whether you want to add a clause in there or anything like that.
Right.
So,
I also don't want to have this go back 3 or 4 times between here and town council. That'll take a very long time.
yeah, well, I don't think that he does either, to be honest with you. So,
All right, so this doesn't need a motion. It just needs to go to town council, correct?
Mhm.
All right. 3.2, review interest refund of $2.59 for account 61505. 3.2, Dave?
It's just, somebody paid their bill and it's just it's just simple interest. Like they
Okay.
pay the bill and it crossed.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I remove that we refund the interest to account 61505 in the amount of $2.59.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Matala, aye.
Okay. 4, commissioners' updates and reports, votes must be taken. 4.1, discuss workmanship procedures.
That's that book I gave you if you read it, and you know it's a work in progress.
So I had this put on here because, and so I have not looked at I did not look at that packet. I have not looked at the procedures specifically to what I'm gonna speak on, but I'm gonna tell you about what I've seen. Okay, I go in a lot of residents' basements, and maybe there's a reason for what I'm seeing, but a lot of it, I don't want to say that I have the highest standard personally, but you guys are going in. We're a small town, and I'm just a little surprised to see old equipment left behind, old wires left behind, draping around. You're using tie wraps or wire ties that are just not trimmed. I'd like to see a little bit better. Maybe a larger community, go in, slam, bam, put that stuff in. But if there's not a reason, I'd like to see a nice install. You guys are putting a transmitter with a short section of wire going to the meter head. I've seen it. That part's great. It's been looped up, but trim those zip ties. Okay. And if there's no reason why we can't be removing the old equipment, I'd like to see that done. There's nothing worse than driving by someone's house and seeing old redundant equipment, old phone lines, old touchpads, all this stuff that doesn't need to be there. Now, if there's a reason for that stuff to remain there, I'd like to hear it. But otherwise, let's take this old redundant equipment away and do a nice job. Take some pride in it.
I can tell you the old touchpads because it's the same thing that I used to do in Chelmsford. If you take the touchpad off, you're leaving a hole in the siding.
Right. So a little bit of white caulk. Or what I use is clear Lexel. It's paintable, 6 to wet surfaces, and you're doing work in people's houses. I know you have a lot of other stuff that says, oh well, we get this. I mean, you need MSDS sheets on everything that you have. So yeah, I get it. There's a hole, but next time when they go to paint or they go to do something, they're not questioning, oh, do I need this? Do I not need this? Did the utility leave this on purpose? Did they leave it because they were lazy? Did they leave it because, they don't have a policy or procedure to remove it? What's the deal? You get me?
Yep.
So I'd like to see that a little bit neater, like trimming zip ties. A lot of people don't trim zip ties because they say, oh, the zip tie, when you cut it, it gets all sharp and it cuts you up. And that's true. They do. But there is a way to do it so it doesn't. Right? And it just looks nicer. Okay? Some of the ones I've seen, I don't think it was done in my house, but I think it was my parents' house. You guys came up from the head with the little brown wire, and then you had the little transmitter up top, a little, closer to grade, and then the coil of wire is neatly looped up, and I think that's great. I'd like to see the touchpad gone, the old wires just left hanging. Clean that stuff up. Why not? You don't spend that much time in people's basements regularly. You're going in there once, maybe 15 years, 20 years when you're going to do your
10.
meet out, swap out. 10.
Every time.
Let's make it look nice.
I can't necessarily disagree with you on that, Nate. I would, if we're going to do workmanship, it should look right. The only thing I get nervous about is if we start, like, if it is leaving a hole,
Yeah, but we put these holes in.
yeah, that's true. Well, if they put siding around it, some of the guys don't take the siding, take it off and put it back on. But like you said, if it's not like now I've never seen one of these. So, all the stuff, the new meters have the transmitter and everything is all in one. There's no extra devices, correct?
The antenna goes up on the top of the pipe.
Okay.
But it's
The
all
ones I've seen have like short little antennas right off the top of the meter that transmit out. This has got so like like the meter, you'll have the brass here, and then you'll have the actual metering equipment, and then off the top of that is probably a 3 to 4 inch solid antenna. Are the ones we're
it's
using?
like a black box with like, it's kind of like oblong. You know what, Dave? I would love to know exactly what part that is, and I'd like to look at the manufacturer's information and instructions.
that little cylinder
installation.
that's
Yeah.
up above is a transmitter.
Yep.
It also stores all the data from the water meter.
No, but he just wants to see the sheets on it from.
I'd like to see, yeah, because a lot of those, if you manufacturer listings, drop tests, all that stuff, it's new equipment. Does someone train you guys to install those, or you just get the parts and you pretty much just follow instruction?
No, they brought someone in to train the guys.
Do they have an instruction? How do those come? Do those come prepackaged?
What do you mean?
The meters?
That little brown wire with the little black antenna?
Yep.
That'll come as one piece?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense because that would be the extra coil of wire, right? So, yeah, I bet they have very specific installation. I'm just curious to read it if there's
Who is
something
it?
like.
Who is it? Is it Badger or Neptune? Or
Everything's
another Badger? All right. Who's the supplier?
There's only one Styles.
Styles. Get Nate get him the install instruction. They usually come, each of the meters, Nate, usually comes with a sheet that you leave with the customer that explains it and stuff like that. But we
Yeah.
definitely, I don't see any problem with you getting the installation instructions and stuff just to see, to maybe explain some of it. I don't have a problem necessarily. I kind of agree with Nate getting the old equipment off and getting rid of it. If it's not a huge square hole, if it's just a couple drill holes, a quick kind of, like he said, a quick cock, it'll
cock.
get it off. It just finishes off and it makes the transition to the new technology complete. It's not something that they have to worry about. It's not something that's
All those touchpads were left from when they installed the other stuff.
Oh yeah, I bet. But I know I've just been thinking about it, because I'm down basements a lot and I'm looking at this stuff, and it does come into question sometimes. Well, what is this? Can I remove this, Nathan? I'm like, yeah. You don't have a phone line, do you? Let's yank these off the house and coil it up at the street and call your provider, tell them to nip these off. But yeah, these old redundant, it's just nice. I think we're at a growth, or we're at a point. This system is at a size where I don't think that's not an impossible. It's not an impossible task, and
it's professionalism.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
you don't leave an old meter sitting in there, big hunk of brass. Why would you leave the wire and the old touchpad?
All right. Anything else, Nate, on that?
I'm happy to help outline a way to put this into procedure if you need written. as far as what you're trying to accomplish and to protect anybody from saying, oh, you left a hole in my house. Well, we've done this to prevent insects, pests, and moisture from entering the premises until you can have someone that is that's their profession to seal. Like, I don't know. See, I'm envisioning a small hole, no more than an 1/8 inch, because a lot of the times they went through. No, a lot of times they went through the sill, and it would have been like a 1/4 inch hole at the most. 'Cause sometimes the wires like to get all wonk going through an 8 inch piece of wood. But yeah, no, it's,
Do we take on anything?
I would say a dab of sealant to prevent moisture from entering the existing hole. Waterproof sealant. And I mean, you could
So
have
you're
white
not gonna
cock.
pull any-
You could
you're not
carry
gonna
all
pull in-
different colors of cock on the van too. You could have black cock, brown cock, white cock, tan cock, all of it, just for different, houses and the colors of the siding.
I just don't, we're not pulling anything out of the sill. We're just trimming
Right.
down to the sill and then covering that hole.
I would remove the wire, touch pad, anything that was provided to meter that. If it's old and not being used, I would remove it. Make it look clean.
But if we do that, Nate, are we opening in a can of worms where we've now? This is just me throwing my liability. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just running through things in my head. Liability wise, are we opening ourselves up to anything by exposing the sill now in the hole that's through it? I was envisioning just a couple of screw holes, not like a 1/4 inch hole.
Well, a 1/4 inch hole is very small. I don't think that. I mean, if you're going to be sealing it, the hole is there. The way these touch pads are affixed to the domicile are not preventing moisture from entering.
Okay.
Generally, it's going to be under the eave side of the house, or even if it's on a gable end of a house, or if your house doesn't have gables or eaves. Unless you have a significant driving rain, you're not going to get permeation into a area of the house that doesn't or can't handle moisture. But a small bead of silicone or white caulk or something like that is used typically for that purpose would be the proper way to mitigate.
I'd almost, if we're gonna do this, let's do it all the way. If you put that dab on and let it solidify, can you fill that hole with the foam? The expanding foam, do you think?
I wouldn't do that. You could use pest block or some expanding foam, but keep it simple like this. A very common caulk is pretty much on every house. I would just use some caulk. There's different foams. Then you're doing something a little different. Like, oh, well, what about these? People might.
No, I get that. I get it. Then
the wire is there. The hole is there.
No, I know.
There's just a wire in it.
No, I know. I'm just saying, if we're gonna pull it out and nothing's gonna be there, and it's. See, I don't know. I don't know enough about carpentry and that sort of stuff.
Can we move this? It's almost 9:30.
Yeah. Well, no.
So yeah, we want to see. I want to see a change with that. I want to see it done better. Well, I think we'll leave it at that. And if I'm willing to give you, if you need verbiage or a way to write that up, you can call me anytime.
All right. 5.1 liaison reports. Mr. Duranian, you have the floor.
A couple of questions. Do you guys want to have some time on the selectmen's agenda in December for a report, or do you want to wait until January?
Dave, when will we have the more finalized draft of the plans for the treatment plant?
Everything, it's out to bid,
So you've got the final drawings and everything?
pretty much. It went out to qualify for bidders.
Then I say the sooner the better that we have a joint meeting between the boards so we can present.
We should be giving them an update anyways.
Yeah, I agree. Nate, do you have time in December? When are your meetings anyways, Nate? Chaz, I'm brain dead.
I think we decided on one in December.
What day?
It'll be second Tuesday, I would say, of the month.
The 13th.
That's town meeting.
Right.
Then if that's your only meeting in December, and that's town meeting.
We can do it the first in January.
Yeah. Which would be,
January 10th.
so we would have our meeting on the 9th. And then, yeah, I like that. That way we can go over anything we want to present on the 9th, and it'd all be nice, cut and proper for the 10th. Nate, are you around on the 10th?
I can be, absolutely. Do we need to be voting there? I mean, I'm happy to set the time aside, but
I think if we're presenting the plans for the treatment plant.
oh, this is your thing, man. You guys have been at this for a number of years.
2
now.
years now.
Yeah.
It's up to you, Nate. I'm
No, you know
offering
what?
it.
No bad can come of it. I'll be there.
All right. Why don't we do that?
Okay. Is there anything we're meeting tomorrow? Is there anything you want me to bring to the board?
Not off the top of my head. Dave, we don't need anything for the SRF, do we?
No,
Chaz,
Oh,
is your start time
yeah.
6 or 7?
6.
That day.
The other thing I did want to say, and this is more of a comment as opposed to a report. I just want to report to the board that you have 2 employees that have been enduring a lot of interesting phone calls because of what we had dealt with earlier in this meeting, and I just really want to thank the town employees, both Misty and Brenda, for a lot of work that they've been doing, and kind of supported by the other technicians that you guys have as well. All town employees really have been doing a fantastic job, and I wanted to make sure that the board knew that they were doing. They're all going above and beyond what they need to do. I mean, it's a tough time right now. Tempers do flare. There are some things that do occur, but I do want to say, just as town employees, I appreciate the work that they're doing, and I want the board to understand that. Having said that, I do believe that, you guys have an open spot on the board right now, and a lot of the information and a lot of the commentary tonight was very important to move things forward. I just believe that we all need to be kind to each other. We can move forward with a common purpose, but more importantly is we have people in town that are very that are getting involved in certain areas, and they really should look to volunteer to help us out, because everybody's either elected or volunteer, and I think it's important for us to be able to hear the voice of the townspeople, to be able to make the changes that need to be changed. So I just wanted to throw it out there again that if you do have individuals that are expressing concern, that we maybe ask them if they want to volunteer for us or be on a board or whatever, even though we do have an open position.
In that regard, can I just interrupt one quickly?
Sure.
The posting for open positions, does that stay open on the board at town hall?
Yeah.
Or on the website?
Yeah, there's on the volunteer section in the town clerk that will stay open until you guys say that to take it off.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and that's all I really have. I'll report back and ask to be on the first agenda for you guys for January.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, hold on. Where did I put it? There we go. 6.1 update 169 Main Street and Greeley Road.
so today we cut it off at the water main off the street. So now that's permanently off in 169 Main Street. It's been cut and capped.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you that line's from pre-1904. So the gate wasn't holding, that's why we had to cut and cap it. or, and it's just, and I believe it's 1880, that 4-inch water line. So just so you know, I have on the shelf that 3.5 to 4-inch, those pots, because Railroad Ave is a 4-inch, the line going to Jeff's is a 4-inch from that same era, and to the town hall. So in case there's a break, it takes me 2 to 3 weeks to get those pots in. I got them on the shelf to make sure that if it ever happens, then I have the pots to fix it.
Okay. The other thing too, Dave, is, in the capital plan, maybe we start looking at, once we get past the treatment plant and other stuff, maybe if we got stuff from the 1880s out there, we start looking at getting rid of them and replacing them.
Railroad Ave and the line to the town hall.
So make sure you make a note of that. The other thing is once we get to a point where we don't need those, put those on a wooden carousel in glass, and we'll put it in town hall as like a memorial piece. Because I'm amazed that thing at 169 didn't let loose before now. I mean, we are so lucky.
Right, but it did this summer.
No, when you were getting ready to, but the house didn't come down. We were,
No, because
but
we were ready.
it was, I know. So that, the sooner we get that taken care of, the long term for the system will be better. All right, 6.2, discuss PFAS. Everyone's favorite topic.
It just, the quick thing is the Witches Book 2 is still above 11.
Okay.
And so we'll just leave that as the whole thing for PFAS.
Your quarterly average is still below the MCL?
It's below the MCL, but the quarterly average is in the warning level.
All right.
The treatment plant, so that went out to pre-qualify last week.
Mm-hmm.
So we're pre-qualifying bidders, because you have to because it's over $10 million, you have to pre-qualify bidders on the job.
Mm-hmm.
And basically you have to go to DCAM and score to make sure that the people we hire are actually qualified to do the work. And
excuse me. No, I had a thought. I'm going to wait till we finish this. I'm sorry.
Okay.
that's the pre-qualifying of the bidders for the harbor trace treatment plant. The other thing is the OPM. That was supposed to be hired before we hired the engineer a year ago in May. I've been doing that job, and I've been occurring anywhere from 5 to 10 hours of overtime every week. And because we didn't have the money to hire somebody. So for the project, we're going to have to think about naming someone for that project, because it's going to be required when it goes out to bid. So it can be out in-house, or we can allocate about $600,000 for the OPM. So it's what you want to do. I am currently certified as an OPM by the state.
All right.
But I don't get paid for overtime, and it's just something will have to be done. That it's what you guys decide to do. But I'm trying to save. I probably saved $100,000 in the last year of doing the work myself, but I just can't keep it for free.
I like that idea. It is extremely hard to get anything changed on that contract, on your union contract. I mean, we tried back when we had a previous superintendent just to simply let him just take the water department vehicle home when he's on call. And it's very difficult to make changes like that.
Right. The one thing you can do is give me a stipend for that license, and that can be done. But
I don't think we can.
No, we did, Nate. He's gotten stipends for all his extra certifications that he does have. We did that
Oh,
a year and a half ago or a year ago, Chaz. So
Year and
if
a
he's
half,
taking,
yeah, about 18 months.
if
how
he's
did you
taken
guys
on,
manage that?
we worked with town council on it.
It was just so hard before. I don't. That's really nice.
Different town council, different, I would say different board of selectmen, potentially, just different set of circumstances. And it was something, Ross was the TA at the time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it was working with Ross, the liaison, and town council, and
The union.
in the union we had to, it did pass the union muster. So I don't think with an additional certification, and we're talking about the savings, I wouldn't be opposed to adding to a stipend on it, so long as it fits within the budget.
You need to make sure you're not overworked too, and be able to do all
Well,
your duties. Plus, I know how big a construction project that is. Huge. That's almost like a full-time job.
Mhm.
Right, but I'm doing it now. And I'm not getting paid.
We haven't even broken ground. Just wait
No,
until
but-
that happens. You need to be on call 24/7 for that stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the problem I'm gonna have. Right? Don't want to do it if I'm not gonna get paid for it. And I don't want to get called on a Saturday and Sunday and have to come into town and working overtime. I'm already working 5 to 10 hours additional every week just to meet the demands of the OPM currently. And, I'm trying to save the town money. We didn't have the money to hire an OPM, and, I probably
Dave, would the OPM fit under the SRF, or is that exempt from SRF funding?
It
That's-
should.
No,
Well,
I know nothing about that, but that is part of a construction project, and I'm assuming that the state would mandate that they have someone in that capacity.
They will, but they don't. SRF does not cover engineering or
They do
certain
not.
part.
That's something-
And so that's where the project ends up costing. They're trying to change it, Nate, but right now SRF I don't think covers the OPM, and it doesn't cover a decent amount of the engineering costs.
Well,
That-
actually, covering most of the engineering costs, they don't cover from start to,
yeah, they cover the pre-engineering, but not the
they
engineering
don't cover
costs.
they
Right.
cover the, and they
So-
don't cover them. And
So
we don't have the money, and because I'm doing Main Street, I saved, they told me Main Street was gonna cost 1.8. We did it for under 600,000. So we saved them $1.2 million. And I did that while I'm trying to get this building going. And, I can do it. I just can't keep doing it. If I don't mind working on a Saturday, because I'm going to have to do payroll. I have to check the payroll and certify it. But I can't do it and not get any pay for it for overtime, because I'm going to probably have to work every Saturday.
I don't want you to burn out either, Dave.
No,
I
but
mean-
it's if I can. I'm getting all this grief right now from all the people that we are raising rate hikes. If I can save $500,000 off this project, and that's a loan that we don't have to pay back, and that cuts 3-4% off a future of rate hikes, which it will, then I'm willing to do it, because in the long run, I'm not going to have, if I can take a year off of rate hikes right now, I'm going to do it. And it just, it's up to you. I'm offering. It just, I've done it for the last 16 months,
Dave, do we have a time frame where they're going to need us to list one?
January.
All right.
We were supposed to have it listed
No, I know. I know.
It all since then, and we've gone and everything pretty damn fast, and
No, I'd agree with that. I mean, you don't go from, oh, God, let me finish this thought, then I have another question about the plant. What would be the steps, Chaz? Would we have to contact the union first?
Yes, I would. I would talk to the union and explain and let them know that you're looking to do what we did before.
Dave, do you have the letter that we sent to them last time?
Yeah, somewhere.
All right, can you send
The
that to
second
me?
one, Dave.
The second one, not the first one, the
I know.
final one. So if you have that, can you send it to me so I can word it? And I'll send it to Misty so Nate can see it. And Chaz, just putting forth what we're looking at, the community, and, stating that we're looking to add a separate stipend. And, the amount it's going to save both, the water department and the ratepayers. Like I said, I'm not opposed to saving us money and stuff. I want a firm commitment from you that you think you can. Nate is right. When this starts, you're going to have to do your normal job plus almost another full-time job. And I don't want to see you like take a step out of the truck and croak on the ground because you overworked yourself.
You look at what's been through-
Go ahead, Nate.
David, what's your source for this? You got articles of information, FAQ. How much does a project manager cost? Is this verbatim from where you got it?
Yep, 3.5% of the project cost.
No, I'm saying the whole thing from Clear Vision all the way to the header. That's verbatim from the website.
Yep, that is the
Okay.
website.
Gilead Land Construction Management.
Right, that's a sample of what a OPM gets paid and what
Do
you
you
should
have-
expect.
Dave, do you have it off the state?
The state
Con-
doesn't get,
The state should.
I gave you something for the state. Basically, it says if you have somebody in-house, that is qualified, you can use that person.
And that's all the state says?
Yes, and then they give that you have to have the OPM license, which
No,
you.
that I know.
fully
That
certified.
that would make sense. They're not going to allow Joe Schmo to oversee it.
But I got the certification.
No, I know that. And I don't think it'll be that much of a problem if you have a new certification and we add that. What I'm going to ask you to do, just like you would with 3 quotes. First of all, send me that letter so we can word it and then we can get Chaz and Nate to look at it. And then send it to the union, and see if they'll agree to it, whatever we got to do. But also get me 2 more sources, like the one you have
Okay.
that I just want to, like you would do with 3 quotes, Dave. Get us 3 sources of information. Go ahead, Nate.
I don't need any more sources of information to tell us how important a project manager is. I think you've provided much here.
Okay.
Okay, I think we all know. I like your enthusiasm. I am a little bit weary of having you split your duties between our whole water system and this. This is a huge project. Okay, and not to say you can't do it, but I'm a little weary. All right, and once we're in it, we're in it.
Nate, how about this too? Because what if something happened to him? We have like a contingency where for a minimal fee, we have someone in backup. you wouldn't have to necessarily, you could set up what you would pay them, but you don't necessarily have to, but have someone kind of in the batter's box or in the bullpen that if something happens or if it does go sideways.
And these contracts as well, if you end up delaying a contractor for whatever reason, and it delays the project, that causes a complete shitstorm. And then everybody's going after each other about timing and money and all that. And you know what? It may not be a good idea, but it's worth discussing.
Well, let's see if the union will agree to it first. If they won't agree to it and it becomes a shitstorm with them, it kind of stops it in the mud as is. I don't think it will, but let's cross the bridges as we come to it and keep an open mind.
We could save a lot of money, but it could.
It's a gamble. I'll give you that.
I've seen a picture of a previous superintendent, and then a picture of him 5 years later. It looked like he aged twice to three times the time due to the stress he was enduring.
Right.
But you know what? Let's talk about here and now.
Yeah. So
yeah, let's.
I'm open to entertain it. Dave, get me that letter. Let's get the wording right and let's send it to the union and see what they think. All right. All right. 6.4 South Street Deluxe, 12 South Street. Where are we?
They pour the pouring the and connecting all the vault up.
All right.
So that's a long term. That's another couple months.
Dave, have they finished all the digging and everything?
They put the line in. Now they're putting the vault. Now they're connecting the vault up.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on that? What is that, a vault?
It's for a backflow,
Okay.
which is required by law. They can either put that in or change all the fire lines in the building to put a backflow in those.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they
you
chose
put-
to put it in.
it's cheaper to put on one main one instead of having a bunch of individual ones, just because they all have to be inspected biannually, and more often than not, they fail and they have to be repaired each time. So having one for them probably be upfront cost be more, but in the long run, it'll save them a lot of money.
Yeah, because that's huge.
Yeah. Well, it has to protect that. Well, they got to make sure it's not going to freeze. But in the backflow itself, that's going to go in there is going to be fairly large.
Okay.
Well, the old line was a 6-inch. This is a 10.
Okay.
So all the parts are bigger
Yeah.
from the old vault. So that's why it's so big.
That it on South Street, Dave?
Yep.
6.5, discuss generators at Main Street and Cross Street stations.
They went out to bid last week. The bid
Alright.
opening is the 13th of December,
Okay.
just like the bid opening for the treatment plant for bidders is the 5th of January.
Okay.
Alright.
Oh, speaking of the plant, hey, the pilot study, is that finished yet, Dave?
They're leaning towards, the pilot study's done. I sent
Okay.
it to
Yeah. I can't remember. It was a GAC they're going with?
GAC.
All right. Can you double check? Because the technical committee for Mass Waterworks met today and they were talking about needing new technology approval to use GAC to remove PFAS. Make
Right.
sure that you don't need that because it's going to be
Well,
region by
right now-
region. Say again?
Right now it's with DEP for approval.
All right. So they may ask you for they may ask Ty and Bond for new technology approval. So just
Right.
be
It's in DEP's hands right now.
okay.
So the 2 generators are out to bid. And
If
the
that
bid
when that
opening is,
bid gets done, how long for them to get in, Dave?
all depends on the generator. It's like everything else. It depends on the type of generator and how long the backlog is.
Dave, do you have mobile generators in the intro?
No.
Start looking into where you can get them.
You know, a mobile generator like that is on a trailer.
No, I know. The reason why I'm asking is they're talking about rolling blackouts this winter if you have more than 3 consecutive days below 10 degrees.
Why is that?
There was in a letter from Groton Municipal. I can get it for you. It's something about the need to be able to supply natural gas to their distribution system for heating instead of supplying natural gas electrical generation plants. Something to that effect, I think. But they were talking Groton Electric, and I've seen a few. It came from ISO New England that they were warning that if there was the potential for rolling blackouts, if you had more than 3 consecutive days below negative 10. So Dave, contact MEMA and see what they have and what your availability to get potentially might be. Also, you could also contact We Belong to Mass Warn, see what might or might not be available. I just don't want to see us hit a rolling blackout where we lose power for 3 hours and those 2 pumps or those 2 stations aren't going to work, especially
Right.
Main Street. I mean, even if you can get one to run Main Street, just in case, Dave, I would talk to MEMA, and Warren and see if anybody's got any mobile ones. Just to cover us. When I read that was the first thing I thought about when we came to these generators at Main Street and Cross Street, and I think that's
Well, Main Street years.
no, I know. I just when I'm just.
Are we
in
on the
my-
same production side as Groton? I know they have their own distribution because they're private. But what about the production? I haven't ever traced the lines back.
No, I'm not sure, Nate. I know one side, the Lunenburg side, I think is National Grid. Because I remember during the ice storm, we were waiting for Unitil here, but at the other end over towards County Road, they got power back before we did because it was National Grid, I think. So I'm not exactly sure, but this wasn't one supplier. This was ISO New England. This is the entire region.
Yeah.
So I don't think it matters which way it comes in. I think the rolling blackouts are going to be potentially on everybody in the region. So the sooner we get in line on something like this or have our ducks in a row, the better off we will be until those permanent generators get in place.
And we already did 6.6, so we're
That's shocking to hear. That's the first I've heard of it.
Go on the Groton Facebook page, has that letter online, Nate.
And ISO is what?
I don't know what it stands for. I just know ISO New England stands for the energy umbrella.
Is it ISO?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of acronyms.
oh, the one thing that
Dave and I are old Army. Acronyms, there are way too many of them.
Yeah.
there's a couple things here that for 6.3 for the treatment plant, we got our funding letter that we're fully funded now, and it's a 40-year loan.
Okay.
One of the things that I'd like to bring up, which is also going to affect the rates, is that there was some money for the MBTE that's been in an account for a long time, for probably the last 15 years, that we knew nothing about, and there's $976,000 in it. And part of the rate study was to build up a fund in about that amount, and which can also be taken off. For that's going to adjust the rates.
What is the MBTE?
It's an additive to gasoline.
it was there was a lawsuit that we were a class act, kind of like PFAS, where we belong to a class action lawsuit. Almost every utility in Massachusetts belonged to it. And you got, when they finally made a settlement with all the gas companies and distributors, I think like Chelmsford, I think got 2.3 million. You got that, and it was supposed to go to water operations. This was probably back
2008.
Yeah, I was going to say 2008 to 2010 was when the distributions happened. Chelmsford got it in 09, I think. So yeah, so it's an additive that showed up in a lot of places anywhere near a gas station, both private wells and municipals.
It made the gas pink, I think.
No, it actually was. It shows up on a sensor detector, Dave.
Right, but it also made the gas pink. And that's why the gasoline used to be pink.
Okay.
And but it's in an account. I didn't know about it. I don't know how many people did.
Who found it? The accountant?
When we were doing the loan for the treatment plant, they asked us about this money that we had in an account, and so that's how it showed up.
Well, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth.
I hope it was a savings account.
It's it's in a money market and a CD.
Oh, heck yeah.
So how hard is it to access, Dave? It's in those two.
It's not. But I'd rather not. That's an emergency fund.
Yeah, no, I'm not. No, and that's like you said. That's Nate. So you know that by the regs, a water utility in town ones usually don't have it. They're supposed to have an emergency fund large enough that if a main component of your system, say, God forbid, like Fitchburg tank ruptured and fell in on itself, you need to have the money immediately available to replace it. Or you should. And part of the rate study, we pretty much depleted everything to get Cross Street done and the Main Street station done without having to tap extra funds. And we pretty much used up anything and everything we had in house. So part of that rate study was showing the need to rebuild that emergency fund. This would take that off the table. So I think that's not, like I said, I'm not going to lift the gift horse in the mouth. I don't care how, where, as long as we found it and it's there now and it's where it needs to be, so much the better. Maybe we actually finally get some good luck out of the last 4 or 5 years. All right.
Now I'm all set. Now it's
All right. 7.1. This Misty, is this where you come in?
Yes, this is me.
7.1. Discuss interest charge reversals by office staff.
So we've been getting a lot of mail checks that have been deposited, and that's just been like taking longer in the mail.
Yeah.
Just the interest adjustment that you did earlier in the meeting. We were wondering here at the office if we could have, with Dave's blessing, Dave would sign everything. It's not us. The authority to reverse any interest caused for that reason, if we had the proof that we usually get, that's under $5. That way we don't have to bring it to you and bog down meetings.
I'd almost make it $10 at this point.
With the rates as they are and the size of the bills, that's not a bad idea.
What's your feeling, Nate?
I think that it takes a lot of the, it's redundant saying, okay, I think everybody with a head on their shoulders knows that when something like that comes about, we all know what to do. And for something that doesn't fall into that category, yeah, you bring before the board. I think if the question is asked, I would like to know, was it always something that the Board of Water Commissioners looked at, or was it something that was there a problem? Let's look at the history of it. Why is it there? Why are we doing this? And if there's a good reason, then okay, well, maybe we should keep doing it. But if there's really no good reason and this can streamline things, then I think it's a good idea.
Right, that's why we wanted a limited. A limited.
The only thing I would ask is doesn't need to be voted on or whatever, but I would like, if we're going to do this and give you leeway to do this, I think an accounting of it added to the meeting so that, okay, there were 4 accounts that the interest was, and just like a statement of accounts, just put together a spreadsheet or just a line item thing
Perfect.
for us to see. All right, we had 4 accounts, because part of it is if we start to see a lot of these, that means something in our system is broken and we need to fix that.
I think there's
So I think I would be okay with allowing the staff to do this up to $10. And in that case, all I'd want to see is an accounting of the accounts, the number, each individual account, a section where you're putting it in that, like we used to, with the, we were doing it for a little bit where we got the, where we were with the budget. It wasn't part of the meeting. It was something for us to see. If we're going to do this and you're going to do this, I'd like to see the individual accounts and the amounts waived. Nate, what's your feeling on that?
Yeah, if at nothing else, correspondence of what's being done.
Yep.
But I mean, look at it like this, okay? And I know you have a tremendous background in water, and a lot of things make sense to you right off the cuff. We are the representatives of the town, elected to serve this position. And are we here doing this perhaps for that very reason? But I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. At what point do you hand over all responsibilities to the water department staff and get them out of the hands of their elected officials? It's not much extra work for me to vote on this and say, okay, here's what's being done. Is it almost the same amount of work for the water department staff to provide correspondence of what has already been? And I don't mind a workload for me. I want things to make sense on the operational side of our office staff, our water department, but I also don't want to skirt responsibility as an elected official.
No, and Nate, actually, I get that and I somewhat agree. If you guys can articulate.
Well, here's the thought on this, is you guys meet once a month. If we can get this out of the way and taken care of in a timely manner for the customer, then when they come up and say, well, can you give me, can you waive the interest? It's 25 cents. And we say, yes, we can. We know the situation. And then we give it in a report to you saying, yeah, we waived 25 cents to this. And then the person's happy instantaneously, instead of saying, well, we'll have to take it up to the Board of Water Commissioners. And they meet.
I hear what you're saying, Dave. And as I've brought up in the past, I have no problem meeting as many times a month as it's necessary to take care of the duties that I've undertaken. Okay, 1 meeting a month for most boards may suffice, but if there's business that needs to be done, that is why I'm here. Okay, if we need to have a work session, a 20-minute work session, or maybe you don't call it a work session, as such, then so be it. That's what we're here for. But I understand what you're saying, and at that point, you know what I would tell the customer, in these scenarios, more often than not, the Board of Water Commissioners, does.
how many
this.
times have we turned these down, Nate?
I don't think there's ever been a scenario, but I'm worried about the scenario where, oh, wait a minute, it's not like it always has been, and there's something a little weird going on, and you need your, what do our acts of 1920 say?
Well, the acts of 1920 aren't going to cover this.
Oh,
This is more. This is. I see. That's why I was setting a dollar limit on it, Nate.
Yeah.
An individual, not a sum, but an individual, because we're talking about like $2.59. What is that? 0.001% of our budget that we weren't probably entitled to anyways, and getting it back. I like the idea of getting it back to them quicker. I just want to make sure that we're aware, because it's not the individual amounts that bother me. It may be the amount of them that we do, because there was one time I think we did like 6, and did that glitch with Vadar get fixed, Dave?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Because there was a timing where it was sending out something almost immediately.
And
I'd rather see us be efficient. And we're not talking. That's why I was comfortable with setting like a $10 individual limit to it. But I also want to see an account. I don't want to be blind to it. That's why I was asking for an accounting of it on the monthly report.
Absolutely.
I think it does, just to have something, just because it was done before doesn't mean changing it is a bad thing.
Right.
And if we're seeing the account of it, I don't think we're abdicating our responsibility, because if you see something that you don't like in it, we stop and then we can go over it, Nate.
Right. I can't fathom any negative implication. I
No,
want to
and
make
I
sure
just-
that we're doing our best to.
No, and I think we are if we do this, Nate, because then it's an immediate resolution for the customer. I mean, if
Yeah.
it goes above $10, no, then you got to come to the board.
You want to
Absolutely.
set the dollar amount at $10, or is there a more arbitrary number that actually? Oh, not arbitrary. Is there a number that isn't
More
round
reasonable.
that makes more sense? Because
More
for some
reasonable.
reason, 259. I've seen that number a lot.
So what,
And then what's
Misty,
the other?
what do you think, Misty? What is, I mean, because like you said, historically the bills have been lower, Nate, and now we're seeing larger, or at least for now, larger bills because of the usage and the rate increase.
What's the interest rate?
14?
1.5 a
No,
month.
1.5. We already went over this. 1.5%.
1.5. Now,
Um,
if you had a customer that,
Hold
what's-
on 1 second. Let me get my.
what's the minimum? All right.
Hold on. Let me do math. I'm going to do it on a calculator because my head is.
The
$100.
service,
So say we said 3,000 is the highest quarterly bill. 0.015%. That's $45.
Yeah, but then that comes to the board. I don't want it over 10.
yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. I'm just trying to think instead of just picking a random number. Sure. $10, right? Okay. Well,
When she said
Then why
5, I just
overthink
I wasn't trying
overthink
to.
it. Yeah.
Nate, I do that way too much. That's why I was just. Are
No,
you
I think
okay?
you're right.
All right. I make a motion that we. I make a motion in interest charge amounts not to exceed $10 per account. The office staff, with approval by the superintendent, have authority to reverse those charges
On interest.
on interest, given that an accounting monthly of all reversals are given to the Board of Water Commissioners
In an open meeting.
in open meeting. Motion's been made. Is it seconded?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Todd Melanson, Chair. Aye. Nate Matala?
Nathan Matala, aye.
Motion has been made and passed. All right, Misty, 7.2.
I guess the next meeting would be December 12th.
That works for me.
That's the day before town meeting. And the day before the bid opening for the generators.
I'm okay with it. Is there a reason why you'd want it to be on a different date, Dave?
Oh, I'm just bringing it up.
Nate?
Um,
You okay on the 12th?
yeah, that's fine.
All right. Let's set it for the 12th then, please.
All right.
You know what? That's fine. Now I'm thinking about that 10th.
January
I may be out of the country.
All right, Nate, if you can be there, we'll post it as an open. If you can be there, you can be there.
Yeah.
If you
I just
can't,
wanna-
you can't.
I just want to let you know.
Hopefully you're going somewhere nice with your fiance.
I don't know. It's kind of a surprise. That's why I don't know.
Ooh,
I will be or not.
here. Oh,
Oh, she's surprising me.
yeah, oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy it if you go. Can I have a motion on 7.3, Nate?
Mr.
And-
Chairman.
Could you combine 7.3 and 7.4?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move that we review and sign October end of month report and sign bills payable warrants out of session.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, Chair. Aye.
Nathan Matala, aye.
Motion's been made and seconded and passed. I adjourn the meeting of November 14th at 10:12.